And so my boyfriend at the time was a bit more willing. He was much more
Wait,
forthcoming.
wait, 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 wait. Slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down, slow down. Whoa, 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 whoa. What's going on? What's going on? No, 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 no. I was following and then I got
Yeah,
confused. With you boyfriend, is that a separate guy? Is that the same guy? What's going on?
separate guys. So
Whoa,
at the
whoa, 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 whoa,
this
wait.
was
Wait.
uh,
I'm lost. Wait. I didn't know we had two guys. What's going on?
at one point. I'm single right now, like very
Yeah, yeah,
single.
yeah,
But
yeah,
at one point, he was such a permanent fixture in my life
yeah. Uh huh.
that even if I was in another relationship, he was still there.
I didn't want to walk away from a guy that I put so much time into for another woman to come in and become the wife.
Damn.
And I had invested so much in him that I felt like I earned him. He was mine. So if anyone's going to be his wife, even with his bull crap, it was going to be me. And eventually, when I got over that whole feeling of needing to win,
Jesus
and I
is
finally walked
Lord.
away for good. So yeah, I couldn't walk away because I didn't want to lose, if that makes sense.
Contact. Does walking away mean absolutely no contact? And I want to answer this in two forms. Number one, did you give no contact? And number two, should walking away include no contact? Tim, I'm gonna go to you first. Go for it.
Okay. So for me, let me be honest. I personally think it's a subjective issue. I don't think that there's a one shoe fits all, because it's always going to take into consideration the dynamic of the relationship, what actually happened, why you're walking away. There's different reasons why people walk away. Like people walk away because of distance. Do you get what I'm saying? But you might have to keep in contact.
We want to cease this little communication. He was cool with it. It never happened again. But I will always give my current the respect that he asked for. There's never ever going to be he was here before you. We've been friends for 27 years. Like, I don't care about all of that. I'm with you and you're my priority. So if it ever came down to me and you, Kojo, and you said you had a problem with whoever, then okay, no problem. You know, I'm still with you.
May you flourish. May you be blessed. May you grow and more. Huh? Come
Thank
on.
you.
Because there's some girls like you lot are trash. Some of you women are trash out there. You know what I mean? You telling me he's been there for how long? How am I gonna let him go? Here, okay. Husband or wife, yeah. Can it work? Them having a best friend of the opposite sex. Tim, talk to me, because you're looking at me and you're chopping your head like that. Can it work, sir? Talk to me, my brother. Open your mic and talk, bro. Open up your mic and talk. Can it work?
Well, best friend, you have to give me more light on this. Best friend, like how? What do you mean best friend?
As in they are the best friend, bro.
How best? Like
How
I'm
best
getting
they
my best
can
friend's house, I'm staying there till.
so best they could end up to be one of your bridesmaids or you know, groomsmen, whatever you want, groomsmen or whatever. You know what I mean? They're that close to
So what,
that.
at our wedding, he's a
Can end up being a
bridesmaid.
groomsman. Sorry, can end up being
Nah,
a
he's a
groomsman. Sorry.
bridesmaid. No, he's a bridesmaid. He's not a bridesmaid. I don't know. Bro, like a best friend, like, I'm sorry, me no comprende. That's the no.
Oh, if she has a back, if she has a bum, we can't be friends.
Yeah.
Do you not have cousins that have back or bum?
Yeah, but they're cousins.
And that,
No,
they're
no, no,
cousins.
no, 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 no,
They're
no, no,
cousins.
no, 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 no.
Dynamic
Okay,
of the
so
relationship is different. They're
okay,
cousins. There's blood
no, no, no,
involved.
hold on. Have you done DNA tests to prove they're cousins?
It's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am, how depressed I am.
Do you not have
No,
family
but they
friends
told
that...
me.
No, hold
The mental
on.
thing is enough. Mentally,
Okay,
Dun, out.
I'm mentally
okay,
disturbed.
hold on.
Go on,
You're
Max.
getting it now. What you're saying is you told yourself they're off limits.
Please, I don't have any time for any gossip now. Eh? Yes.
That's self-denial. So with this girl, you've told her she's not off. You've told yourself she's not off limits.
correct.
Absolutely.
She's the same as
She
your
doesn't have to
cousin.
be. She doesn't have to be.
No. She does.
Why?
She does because because she's just a friend.
Hey guys, and welcome to Little Black Book. We're here giving you guys today a conversation around colorism. Now, this conversation was kicked off because we did a review quite recently on Married at First Sight. If you guys watch it, shout out to you. And the conversation was around colorism. And I made some comments around it, and a lot of people disagreed. A lot of black women disagreed with what I said. So I decided, do you know what? Let's have a conversation. You know what I mean? I'm always open to being educated. And I think it's very, very important to widen your scope and be able to understand different perspectives. So today, we're going to have two parts of this conversation. So part one, we're going to let some important, powerful people, you know, come onto the stage. Yeah, I call them powerful because once you've got a voice, once you've got an opinion, once you've got an experience and you're able to voice that, you become a very powerful person. So I have some great people behind the scenes who are going to share their experiences and give us their thoughts and what they've experienced around the topic of colorism. Now, if you're not aware of colorism, well, then sit tight. Grab a pen and paper as well, okay? Start making some notes, okay? Research it after this conversation as well, because this is not the end of the conversation, it's just the beginning. And what I want everyone to understand, especially those in the comments, I love that we can banter, but today, can we please be respectful? Because when people are sharing their experiences, what I don't want is people to say funny stuff when people are sharing their experiences because it derails the conversation. I want us to be in a place where we're actually with a listening ear and we're respectful. You understand? So keep it cute. Okay, like guys in the comments said, keep it cute. All right, as somebody said, keep it cute. All right, but I really want to be able to have this conversation. So we'll dive a little bit also into Featurism and into Texturism as well. So if you don't know what that is, tune in for this then and find out more about the show. Now, I don't want to talk too long because, like I said, it's not to me today. To me, I've invited people on to come share their experiences in part one, and in part two, we'll be having a panel come and discuss, hopefully educate a lot of us on this topic of colorism, texturism, and featurism. Okay. Yes. So without further ado, I really should go down my list and find out who's number one, giving us our conversation. But I want to say this as well. This conversation is a large conversation. Okay. So if you are going to feel like you're going to be triggered, please take some time. You know, as well, guys, please, like, I want everyone to be respectful. And I'm now talking to my future panelists because it's going to be, we're going to have a panel discussion. I know that some people are going through some very difficult experiences, especially if you're dark skinned. I know it can be a triggering thing. What I don't want from anybody on either side, light skin, dark skin, if you're in the middle, whatever, red, blue, brown, whatever side, what I want you to do today is have a listening ear. That's all I want today. Listen ear. Give your perspective. You may even disagree, but let's have a listening ear. Let's be respectful to one another. And let's keep it cute. All right. Without much further ado, I'm probably going to change my list thingy now because I can't find my list. So I'm going to go with Prime first. And Prime, in fact, I'll let Prime introduce himself because Prime's a character. So let me bring Prime on and get him on the conversation as well. So Mr. Prime, let me get you on here. Let me sort out my people from the stage. Fantastic. Okay, so I've got Mr. Prime on now. Okay, all right, cool. Mr. Prime, how you doing, sir? Let me unmute you. Mr. Prime, how you doing? How you doing today? You right? Yeah,
I'm doing great.
Fantastic, sir. Fantastic, sir. I'm gonna make you the solo view now. So this is your stage now. I want you to share for the next 4-5 minutes. I'll give it 5 now because we haven't got as many people now. I'm going to need the next 5 minutes. Just share your experience around colorism and what you've seen from that as well. From your perspective, what you have seen.
What I've seen. Now, here's a personal experience of mine. Mm-hmm. I can remember being told by a young lady that I was a little bit too dark for her. She didn't say it. She didn't communicate it. But I heard her family members. And I quote, "You talking to his black? Oh, girl, look at him. He oof." It was funny because not funny in the sense of humor, but it was funny in the sense that they were basically discounting me, simply because my skin tone was dark. And it wasn't up until recently that dark-skinned men became acceptable. But that's a whole nother topic for another time. But that's one of the key things that stuck out for me, is being told by somebody else in the black race that I was too black to talk to them. So it was, it is what it is. I think some people can hold on to that, and some people, depending on your internal fortitude, can move past it. Now, I will say, having the father that I had, my father was very, very direct. My father told me, "You just as good as any," excuse the expression, "you just as good as any other piss-colored boy out there, and I better not ever hear you say anything like that again." And he meant it. I knew he meant it. So I will say I took that to heart. I don't care. I don't even look at it that way anymore, because times have changed. Progress has made its way to the male side, I'll say. That's some of mine.
Appreciate that. Thank you. Appreciate it. All right, cool. So let me ask you a question, because I know you've cut a bit short. I don't know if can you hear me right?
Yeah, I hear you real well.
Fantastic. I know you cut it short. Obviously, when you mentioned about you had an experience with someone calling you, someone basically saying they couldn't date you because you were too dark.
She only said that after her cousins made the comment. Before then, we were fine. We'd go roller skate and do the movies, go watch our movies or whatever. It wasn't until some cousins of hers, interjected the comment that she all of a sudden stuck back. And I will say, we saw each other years down the road, and even she acknowledged that, I was young, dumb, and a little stupid for listening to them, because, they didn't have the best track record in the world with men.
So then for you, when you heard those words, did that elicit any particular feelings though? Because obviously if someone is alluding to that, as a man, you're going to feel something if that's the reason why they weren't comfortable after, how did you feel about it?
That happened to me in my younger years. So when it happened to me at the time frame that it happened, because you don't necessarily have the necessary tools to be able to control your emotions, I felt some kind of way about it, and I acted some kind of way about it. Now, I will say, again, I was younger. So as I got older, I can honestly say I could care less what kind of comment like that was made in terms of how dark I was, or if I didn't look like that. I have always known my self-worth and my self-value. So somebody else's view of me carried very, very little weight to me.
Last question, because we're on the last minute. For you, let me ask this question. When you said obviously it's moved along for men, what did you kind of mean by that?
Meaning that black women don't tend to judge men the way they used to. Back in the day, you had to have a certain look. You had to be the pretty boy. They wanted the pretty boy because they wanted their babies to have good hair. And they moved past that because dark-skinned men became acceptable and became, desirable. The problem is black men didn't afford black women that same, acceptance. So they still hold on to these unrealistic Eurocentric desires of saying she has to look like this, her hair has to be this way, and I want her to basically have a lighter skin tone. And I can tell you that it's, like I said, black women have passed that. Black men ain't even come close to passing it. You can see it regularly. They will, in a heartbeat, move past a beautiful pecan tan, dark-skinned, chocolate black woman to run for a Karen and be happy. I've walked past people with their girlfriend and they got hold of her like, they pushing a Bentley. Like, hope she, slavery come back, maybe she'll buy you.
I appreciate it, Prime. That was good. I know I don't want to leave it, but I have to leave it. It was good though. I like the ending that you brought there. I appreciate that. Okay, I appreciate that. Thank you. Yes, let me get on my next guest on. Kay. How you doing, Kay? You all right? Oh, I've silenced you, Maya. Sorry. How you doing, Kay? You okay?
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can now. Sorry, I had you on mute. Apologies. How you doing? You how you doing today, though? You feeling good?
I'm all right, yeah.
Fantastic. So I'm gonna exit myself out, and I'm gonna let you take the floor. What I didn't ask Prime, which I'm going to ask you, so sorry, I know you're the first one. I was meant to ask everybody what their definition of colorism is. Your own definition, what you feel the definition of colorism is. So I'm going to exit the floor and let you take center stage, girl. Go for it.
Hey everybody. So just to answer your question first, colorism. My definition of colorism will be discrimination against darker skinned women, women of a darker hue, even more so than me. Like I'm thinking of like me too, but like the Lupitas, the South Sudanese girls, and discrimination against all of us dark skinned girls, but even more so them. And I guess you wanted to know my experiences, right? So I was telling Kojo, I've been through everything and heard everything under the sun. I've been told you're pretty for a dark skinned girl, which I hate. And on the other end, I've been asked if I bleach, what kind of bleaching cream I use. And the most cringeworthy story I have to tell is like, so my family's from Ghana. So when I went to go visit them the last time, I'm saying hi to everybody. And my little cousin comes up to me and she goes, Ma Bansu, you're so fair. Like my Ghanaian name is Ma Bansu. So she goes, Ma Bansu, you're so fair. Like it's a great thing. And me, I'm just like cringing, like, oh, I hate that term. It's not cool. I'm not fair. Let me be very clear. I don't consider myself fair by any means, but maybe in Ghanaian terms or African terms. But it's not cool. So I looked at her and I'm flabbergasted. I'm pissed. Not at her, but just the thought of that. Like that was her first sentence to me, right? My little cousin. And so I looked at this beautiful Black girl and I'm like, well, I think you're very beautiful and I miss you, right? And I gave her a big hug, right? But just the fact that that was her mindset, that really bothered me. I was also telling Kojo, like Featurism, he was talking about that, right? I've been asked by a white lady if I've had a nose job. Yes. I've been asked by another white lady if I've had lip injections. I've been told by 2 Black men I should get lip injections. It's just exhausting. It's a whirlwind and you can't make everybody happy, right? So that's where I'm at, and just accepting myself and just being content with where I'm at and my complexion, my features and everything.
I appreciate it, Kay. You still got a few minutes, so let me ask you a question.
Okay.
When obviously you've experienced almost like from both sides. So when you heard from Black men saying lip injections, like what does that do to your mind? How does one process that information?
When people have asked me stuff about like that, I'm always taken aback for sure. But the way I was raised, it doesn't bother me. I just like, okay, I'm about to delete this boy's number. That's just my take on it. Like, because obviously we can't go further. If you don't accept me for how I look and you trying to change me, and nah, that's not gonna work for me. That's not gonna work. Not at all. I've also been asked by a Black female one time, was I foreign? That really, yeah, right. That bothered me. I don't know. I think I look like every other Black girl out here, but yeah, I was asked was I foreign and where my family was from. That did not go well between us. But yeah, I don't know.
So we still got a minute or so left. So you've gone through quite a few different experiences collectively. I guess I want to ask a question. Where do you think colorism comes from then? Where is this coming from?
Personally, I'm thinking, especially in the States, sorry to say, I hate to say slavery.
You can say it. Yes, you can say it, sis. You're allowed to say it here.
With slavery, divide and conquer, right? Against each other, right? She looks better than you. And I hate to say it, not you, Kojo, and I think the guy was Prime, but it comes from men too, and how we feel about, men. I think a woman's worth is in her beauty, right? Or at least that's what most women think.
Yeah.
So you do all of these things trying to make yourself beautiful, and then you're just so you become consumed with it. And what wouldn't you do? Like, I don't know if it's true, but they say like they have the pill to take the bleaching stuff these days. Yeah, I've heard that. I'm not sure. I don't do those things. You know what I'm saying? But it's all of this stuff to make yourself beautiful, and for what? And for who? Like, where does it stop?
The male gaze.
Yeah.
Okay. I appreciate it, Kay. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. God bless you for that. All right. Thank you. Thank you again for sharing that. I'm gonna have to pronounce it right because me and names. Kimnidi, is that how you pronounce it? I'm gonna get it to come on and pronounce it. Wait, sorry. Is it Kimnidi?
That's fine. Kim today.
Kim Nade.
Yes.
Damn, I was trying to go for the African route and it didn't work. All right, cool. Kim Nade, I want you to give us your experience of colorism, whether it's colorism, featurism, texturism, whichever you feel like. But I want you to give us your experience and going forth. So I'm gonna exit the route here for you. Go for it. Go.
So for me, colorism is when you treat someone less than or you demean them based on their complexion. For me, I've had a unique experience. So I've been the darker person in the group and I've been the lighter person in the group. When I was the deepest, rather than darker, the deepest complected person in the group, I was pretty much treated like a ghost. No one paid me any type of attention, men and women. It was like I was a speck on the wall. Nobody saw me. I remember one time, in that same group setting, I guess a guy felt that, why isn't anybody talking to her? So I guess out of self-pity, he came to speak to me. But at that point, I was like, I don't even want I don't want to entertain anybody because I didn't see the reason for people not to give me any type of regard. When I was the lightest person in the group, but this was back in my club, my nightlife phase, because I live here in Atlanta. So this is my nightlife phase, and I went to predominantly Nigerian clubs. Men would buy me sections, drinks, and then I would be like, well, I didn't come by myself. I have my friends here with me. So, I mean, if you're not going to offer it to my friends and then I don't want it. Because it's like, why are you just seeing me? Because I'm the brightest person in the group. It's not fair to the people I've come with, and it's not fair to me that you're singling me out because you think I'm attractive because of my complexion. And for me, it really started young. I would say when I was in elementary school, I remember having my baby picture in my locker. And when I was a child, like most of us, we were really, it was high yellow. And I remember my friend at the time, she said, if your complexion was like that now, you would get more guys. Mind you, I'm like 10. So that really hurt. I went through, and I'm just gonna be very honest. I went through a phase where I actually bleached my skin. I used to use fair and white. And then I remember one of my uncles, he was looking at my face and he was like, are you bleaching your skin? And I was like, how did you know? And he said, because I could see how you have these lighter spots on your face. And that was the end of my bleaching phase. And I was just like, why do I not like myself? Why do I not like how I look? Even up to my nose. I used to hate my nose. I wanted my nose to look like Beyonce. And all this because I wanted somebody to look at me, to notice me, to see how beautiful I am. And, it takes time to break those negative layers down. It takes a lot of time. And I can't say at this point in my life, I'm happy with how I look. I don't care if you don't like how I look. I'm not for you. I'm not going to be for everybody. God created me like this for a reason. I don't know who I may reach, who I may not reach. It doesn't matter. I look like this and I'm going to stand in it and I'm going to move forward in it, So that's just my experience, what I've gone through, that's it.
Wow. We still got a minute, so let me ask you a question. Obviously, when it comes to this colorism issue, the difficulty always becomes that it becomes quickly light and dark. And some may say, okay, sis, but you're not dark, so you haven't experienced colorism. What would you say to that?
I'm like, I have. Just because I may not look dark to you, I may be dark to somebody else. Everything is perspective. Okay, everything is perspective. People have deep-rooted issues or deep-rooted ignorance, as I like to say. We don't know people's upbringing. So as they grow up, they may have seen someone that looks like me, and we're told that someone my complexion is dark. I mean, I used to have a teacher that called me paper bag brown, and I was like, what does that mean? Like paper bag brown? Being Nigerian, being a Nigerian American is a struggle. It was more of a struggle when I was younger. because it's just like, well, you're African, you're not American, you're not this, you're not. It's always like, you're not this, you are that, you're not this, and it's like, where am I supposed to land in all of this? But yeah, I mean, it depends on the perspective of the individual. Some people think I'm light, some people think I'm dark. I think I'm brown skin. I mean, I don't know. I don't think I'm light skinned at all. I wouldn't consider myself light skinned, but somebody else might. So just everyone's perspective. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm light skinned because to me, I'm not.
I get what you're saying. I appreciate it, sis. Thank you very much, Kim Nede. I tried, didn't it? I'll sleep people's names. I'm so sorry. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, sis.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. All right, cool. Let me get Sean on as well. I hope I pronounced it correctly. Sean, is it Sean? Have I pronounced it correctly, or is it pronounced differently? You have to unmute yourself. Sorry, sis. Oh, you got to unmute yourself, sis. Sorry.
It's Sean. My full name is actually Oluwaseun.
Oluwaseun.
It's Sean, yeah.
Sean. You see, I knew I should go with the African this time.
Also, all my family in the UK, they all call me Sean, so I'm used to it.
Okay, fair enough. All right, sis, I'm going to exit and let you give your perspective.
Okay, do I need to start with the definition? Because I feel like...
please. Okay. If you have one, please.
Sure, okay. So my definition of colorism, which I totally did not steal from the internet, says it's a form of prejudice where people of a lighter skin are typically favored over people of a darker skin. So it could be within an ethnic group, or it could be across different ethnicities. So when I was 8 years old, I'm also Nigerian. And when I was 8 years old, there was a song that came out, I think it was 2002. The song is called Omopupa, and it pretty much means light-skinned girl. And the gist of the song is, light-skinned girl, you're the one I love. Light-skinned girl, you're the one I want to marry. Please, light-skinned girl, marry me. That's like the literal translation of the song. And that was the landscape of like the social landscape when I was growing up. I had a lot of aunties that used to bleach. Like, I have aunties that legit have been bleaching for 20 years now. A lot of Nollywood actresses were bleaching their skin. There was a lot of phrases like, oh, I want a yellow pawpaw girl. So in Nigeria, pawpaw means papaya. So they want that high yellow like look. And interestingly enough, there was no alternative for dark skin or brown skin girls. Like, there was no, oh, I want like an avocado. I don't even know what we would have said, but there was nothing like that when I was younger. And it was either people bleaching their skin or people wearing foundation. I was like literally 3 shades lighter than what they should have been wearing. And that was just how people rolled, because everyone wanted to be attractive, women anyway. And when I was 10 years old, I went to a boarding school, and something I clocked early on was a lot of the girls that got a lot of validation from guys in my year, especially when we hit like 13, 14, a lot of girls that also were less likely to be bullied by other senior girls with the light-skinned girls, unless you're rude and then no one cared. It was like, you're gonna be bullied anyway. But that was something I clocked. It was a lot of the boys also. There was a totem pole where the light skinned boys were at the top, interestingly enough, and then the darker you were, the lower you were on that. And I think I kind of internalized some of that toxicity growing up, because I remember going to visit my family when I was 14, and I was looking at my youngest sister, and she has like beautiful dark skin. Like, she kind of looks Sudanese, very dark, shiny, beautiful skin. I remember thinking, well, at least I'm not as dark as she is. Like, can you imagine thinking that as a young teenager? That was something that actually came to my mind. Like, at least, like, I might not be the lightest, but at least I'm not that dark. And it was something that I thought about it, and it just made me feel guilty right away, because I'm like, why do I feel like this? And something else about the girls that were the most attractive in my year, the dark-skinned girls that were attractive, they kind of had to come with the sexual energy, kind of like have like the body banging like Paige. Like, they couldn't just be dark skinned and beautiful. It had to be something extra. But the girls that were brown skin or light skin was like, obviously. It's just been, a few years of me trying to unlearn stuff. I remember when I was in university in Canada, I liked this guy that was very light skinned. He was also Nigerian. But I remember thinking in my mind, like, he's probably not going to like me, like, because a light-skinned guy has never approached me before. And then he started to like me because we were friends at first. And then he started to like me. And there was this kind of cognitive dissonance where I'm like, you should not like me, but you like me. Like, what is happening? It was just a weird scenario. That's when I realized, okay, there's a lot of stuff I need to unlearn from when I was younger. And yeah, that's where I am now. There's this Bible verse I love. It's Jeremiah 13:23, where it says, can an Ethiopian man change his skin color? Can a leopard change their spots? Like, no, you can't. God made you the color you are. And cliche as it sounds, he made us in all different shades. Like, unfortunately, humans are the ones that pervert the beauty and the diversity, and we try to put like a hierarchy of things. So, yeah, I think that's 4 minutes.
No worries, no worries. Thank you very much. I was saying short. I want to say it the way you said it.
It's like Shay, like
Shay.
you know, Shay on. Yes, just call me Shay. It's okay.
Boy, listen, me and names. But thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
No worries. All right. Let me get on to Tequila. I hope I pronounced that name right as well, because boy, me and names out here, baby. Let me get Tequila on as well. Hello, Tequila.
Hi.
How you doing, girl?
Yeah, I'm fine.
How you doing? You okay?
Thanks for having me. Yes, I'm great. How are you?
No worries, sis. I'm good. I am gonna give you the floor.
Okay.
I keep forgetting to ask people. Please give us a definition of colorism, and then shoot away and let us know your personal experience.
Okay. So colorism for me is discrimination against anyone that is of a darker hue, and that is the only reason you're discriminating against them or not giving them a fair chance. So that is the definition for me. That's how I understand colorism. So I want to start my experience with colorism, like the first sort of time that I came in contact with colorism, or even though I didn't have the words to put to it. For me, it started at home. And I don't like want to throw my mother under the bus, but it started as early as at home. So it's 4 of us. And so my 3 siblings are lighter than I am. And I might look a little light now, but it's just some good lighting. That's all it is. I'm actually quite dark. And I live in the States. So to give you guys some background, because it's also relative to where you live. That's true too. So I live in the States. I'm in the Midwest. I'm in Chicago. I grew up here. So my mother always called me black, like black ASS, like all the time. Like it was my second name. And I was always like, why is that? Like, why is there always this sort of animosity that she has towards me and not towards my 3 siblings? And what was really, really interesting about the animosity, or how she always referred to me that way, was because I'm the only child that looks exactly like her. I have her exact face, but we're not the same color. So that was the first, it was constant, but that was the first interaction I had with it. I also dealt with it a lot at school with teachers. And I don't think they were doing it consciously. It was definitely subconscious. It was like an inherent bias. They would always, it could be me and a few other kids getting in trouble for the same thing, but I'd always get like the worst of their anger. Like I get it the worst, right? And so I noticed that early on, like straight away. And let me be clear, I went to not a predominantly Black school, an all Black school. I didn't go to like a school that was kind of mixed. Like, no, my school and like 90% of my teachers were all Black. Because here in Chicago, it's really segregated. People may not know that, but Chicago is actually quite segregated. But the funny part of it is I had an aunt. Even as a child, I was very, very observant. I had an aunt, and she was dark, and she experienced the same thing when she was growing up with my mother and her siblings. And so she kind of took me under her wing. I actually sort of feel like she was more of a mother to me in a sense. And so she kind of like raised me, like all of those lessons you need from a woman to a girl, I got them from my aunt. And what I noticed was I thought my aunt was beautiful. I think my mom is beautiful too, but I thought my aunt was beautiful. She was accomplished. She was independent. She always had somewhere to go. She was always busy. And so I kind of modeled myself after that aunt. And I was like, so I didn't have this negative connotation, even though I was experiencing that from my mother. I didn't have a negative connotation with being dark because I had this woman that was a mover and a shaker. She was just like, she was so bomb to me. I used to just be like, where are we going now? Where are we going this weekend? You know? And so I feel like that was the confidence that I needed, that I didn't struggle as hardcore as some of my dark friends did with the same issues. Now, moving into things like cheerleading and dance, you know, you're at school, you want to get on those teams as a young girl. I would never be the first picked or picked at all. And it wasn't because I didn't have the rhythm. It wasn't because I couldn't do the moves. It was simply because I was dark, and most of the teams wanted more of the girls to be of lighter tone. And I would see that over and over. But then moving into like my high school years, and I started to develop as a woman, like, you know, womanly body parts and whatnot. What I noticed was, like one of the women said earlier, I was constantly overly sexualized, like all the time. And I'm like, where is all of this attention coming from? They never wanted to get to know me. It was just all about, you know, my physique, my body, but it wasn't about me. And I'm like, okay, this is weird. And so I remember turning kind of like, once I realized what was happening, I was like, oh no, you're not about to do this to me. And I like cut it off. And so like, I literally dated no boys in high school. I was like, no. But there was this one, and it.
So you got 30 seconds. Sorry, I know you're in flow.
Okay. There was just one. I'll be really quick about it. There was a bet of who could find the most attractive dark-skinned girl, and I overheard them talking about it of a guy I was dating. So yeah, that's pretty much been my experience with colorism.
Ooh, my God, that ending there, boy. You know, I think I saw that in a TV show once, and I was like a bit stunned by that. But the fact you said it now, I'm kind of makes you a little bit shaky. You know what I mean?
It was a fraternity, yeah.
My God. Okay. Well, we'll have some time after, so we'll get to ask all the panelists some questions. So I appreciate that. Thank you very much, T. I appreciate it. No worries at all. Okay. That was heavy, that ending. Let me get Tino up on here. Tino, how you doing, sis? You all right? Yeah.
I am good. Thanks.
Yes.
Yes.
Sis, I'm gonna let you take the floor, okay? And please also, if you can, give us your definition of colorism, and we'll kick off the show. Go for it, sis.
All right. Thank you so much for this opportunity. So, my name is Tino, and I am from South Africa. So, my definition of colorism is certain stereotypes being associated with a certain skin tone. So my experience with colorism started with my ex, whereby one day out of nowhere he was like, "Where's my brown queen?" And I remember standing there and saying, "Wait, what do you mean?" And he was like, "Where's my brown queen? I got into this relationship with a brown queen." And I remember just being so stunned because I was like, okay, I don't understand. Did this person get into this relationship because of my skin tone, or what exactly? Because I mean, this is someone whereby his baby mama is a beautiful light-skinned lady. So it arose a lot of confusion within me. And 2 months later, I remember I was chilling with one of my guy friends, and one of my guy friends asked me, "So how does it feel to have two yellow bone best friends?" So in South Africa, we don't say light skin, we say yellow bone. And I remember looking at my best friend, my guy friend, he was also like a close friend of mine. And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean?" And he was like, "Yeah, like, I'm wondering, how does it feel to have two light-skinned best friends?" And I was like, I don't understand this, because the way I was raised was to not accept the concept of colorism, like the whole skin tone thing. So back at home, because originally home is Zimbabwe, so I grew up being called the light skin youngin of the family. But I would come to South Africa and people would be like, nah, you brown or you exotic. And it always confused me, but my father never allowed it to really sink in. So when I was sitting in that moment with my guy friend, I got so stunned. And I remember he laughed and he was like, you know what? It's no problem. Because what's funny is that brown skin going darker are usually so mean and angry and standoffish. But in this case, you are brown, but you're so sweet, you're welcoming, you are friendly. But your two light-skinned best friends are so mean, they standoffish, they're not about anyone. And it made me realize that there is such a stereotype that goes around with people according to our skin color. So having experienced the relationship thing and then being asked according to what color my best friends were at the time, it made me realize that the outside world can bring in a lot of confusion over our skin color, because I remember I never had a problem of realizing these things, but as I started noticing the colorism of the world, I started noticing that it might even be within me subconsciously. Because as I was writing up my list of what type of husband I'd want, I realized that unconsciously I wrote, I want a light-skinned man. And when I went back to look at it, I was like, wait, but when you have conversation with darker-skinned men, you find yourself being comfortable. Why all of a sudden are you specifying to God that you want a light-skinned man? And that's when I realized that colorism had put itself into my subconscious without me even realizing it. So yeah, that's my experience with colorism. Yes.
Sis, that got me, man. That part where you said on the list as well, the big G upstairs as well, you put it on there. I hear that. I felt that. I felt that. I appreciate that, Tina. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for the opportunity.
No worries. Whew. Yo, it's getting a bit deep out here, you understand? Listen. Okay. Ooh. Okay. Dr. 100. Hey, sis. How you doing?
Hi.
How you doing, sis? You right, yeah?
I'm okay. My friends call me Naishia.
No, okay, because I was gonna say,
you gonna chop my name up?
I wasn't sure. I was gonna say your name.
No, it's fine. It's fine.
Naishia, yeah.
Yeah. I don't really do the social media thing or this is the first time I've ever been on any type of platform ever in my life.
Well, welcome, sis. We appreciate you for choosing this one to come on. So thank you. I'm gonna let you take it away. Please also give your definition of what you believe colorism is, and then go into your story and experiences.
My definition is almost identical to Miss Kim Nade, yes. And I understand the technical definition, and that's very true. I'm not going to take away from that. But that just treating someone different due to complexion, and where it started for me was seeing how people treated my mother early on, and then how that affected how she treated me and my sister. So my mother was a brown-skinned woman, very similar complexion to Miss K, beautiful, but her sister was extremely light, like, and in my family, on both sides of my family, both mother and father, it's a mixture. It's all these different hues. You might get a super rich complexion and a very light complexion. You may get a bunch of us in between, and I waver between lighter and then kind of like a lighter brown. It just depends on the season. I live in the Midwest, so the weather affects me, because when it's cold, sometimes I just look like a ghost, and then when it's hot outside, depending on how long I'm outside, I can get a nice little some melanation, looking real good. But It just depends. So my mother she did not see the beauty in her. She did not like pictures taking of her. She would literally cringe if you took a picture of her. And I became that way, but I did not understand why. My sister and I, we had a certain type of hair texture, and it affected how people treated us. They would be like, "Ooh, the light-skinned girls with the long, pretty hair," and it wasn't always said as a compliment. It was more like being fetishized, like people putting their fetishes out there on you. As I got older in high school, middle school, I mean, throughout the whole time, people just, "Can I touch your hair? Oh, you're so pretty, so light skinned." And I'm like, so if I was dark skinned, like for me, I change color. I'm never one color all the time. It changes as the season, and Midwest weather is crazy. It just do what it want to do. So it always made it seem that if I was darker, then that mean you wouldn't like me. And I had, some of my cousins who are some of my closest friends, and some of my friends who have that richer tone to their skin, and they would say, "Oh, such and such, she cute for her. What's her number? Let me get with her. She she cute for a dark skinned girl." And I would go off because I was the friend that was cool, but I was the one that would punch you. I would attack you. Like, what you say about my friend? She's cute for what? And they would be like, why you mad? Like, I said she's cute for a dark skinned girl. You think you doing her a favor? And I'm real calm. I'm real cool, but I got a tongue that'll slice you in half. And I would give it. I would serve it. I was mean. I was mean for my friends. And what I realized is because I was constantly defending my mother's beauty. You feel me? And my mother, because she didn't feel like she was beautiful, she became narcissistic, and it never stopped. It only got worse. The last 10 years of her life, we were estranged. But colorism wasn't the only factor for her pain, of course, but it was a factor. I remember my family, because on my dad's side, they don't play that, even though we all different shades. I got a couple cousins who they look white, and you would think they were white. And my cousin be like, "I ain't white, I'm black." And they be like, you get in the feelings about it too. And my grandmother used to, she would change color with the weather. And, when we were little, we were like, "Nanny, you white." And she cuss us out. She'd be like, "I ain't white, I'm as black as you." And it was defensive. She, because we didn't know where she came from. She coming from some historical, serious civil rights type stuff. And to defend her blackness she would go off about that. She was the sweetest lady in the world, but she would go off about that. And she,
last 30 seconds, doctor.
Oh, yeah, okay. And on my dad's side, they didn't play that. It was family, it's whatever, it's love, we crazy, but for different reasons. On my mom's side, it was crazy, and that colorism used to come up. They would say things about my mom, and they would be like, because my mom had behavioral issues for real, but they would always point out her color and her weight. They were like, "Well, your nappy-headed mammy did this, and your mama did that, and your fat mama did." And I would just become the smart mouth kid who became real quick to cuss a grown person out on behalf, even though my mama used to do me dirty sometimes. That was still my mama. And till this day, say something to left, I'm gonna throw them hands on you.
I appreciate it, Doc. And
then I'm gonna pray for you.
I appreciate it, Doc. Thank you very much for that, Doc.
Yes, sir.
All right, cool. We got our last panelist who's going to give their experience. I might drag it out a little bit longer just because obviously I think the experiences have been really eye-opening, and just because I want to ask a few questions as well to the panelists who've actually shared their experience, just to get a little bit more insight into their situations as well. So let me get Adjoa on as well. Adjoa. Yes, Adjoa. Yes. Oh, I'll tell you. How you doing, sis? You right?
Hey, I'm good. How are you?
How you doing, best friend? You okay, yeah?
Hey, best friend.
No, you know I don't have no best friends. So anyway, sis, go on. Talk to them. Give us your experience and your definition of colorism.
So my definition of colorism is prejudice or discrimination against someone based on their complexion. And yes, usually the oppressed is the one that, or the one who takes the biggest brunt of it, is the one who is at the forefront, and that would be dark-skinned women. And I want to give a little bit of history. You think about colorism. Colorism really has its roots in slavery, and more recently, also in the commodity of just the root of money. That's really it's like a combination of it right now. But really, it comes from colonialism. So 1619 is when slavery started. It goes all the way through, and then around like 1965 is when Black people started getting, rights and being even recognized as a human being in America. So you think about it, 1965 is not that long ago, right? Some of our parents were born in this age. So if you have parents who have this ideology of racism and not thinking that Black people are human beings, having their kids and they having that residual secondhand racism, which will kind of be, our age-ish, and then they're having kids, and those are the ones who are kind of like removing themselves a little bit from the idea of racism. So if you think about it, colorism and racism go hand in hand. And so with this history, we're literally still in the trenches of colorism. So my experience with colorism is, I remember I was in civics class, and this was somewhere in high school. I think I felt it in middle school, like, okay, these people really, they don't mess with you. And I couldn't really pinpoint what it was. But I remember in high school, we were freshmen and we were in civics class. In civics class, we watched a lot of videos. And so we're watching the videos. Of course, the teacher has to turn the light off. And I remember the teacher turned the light off. And one kid who was the class clown made this joke about, "Ooh, where are all the dark-skinned people at? Like, all we see is y'all teeth." And it was, it cut deep. Like, that really cut deep. Like, it made me realize how invisible society makes dark-skinned people. And people are laughing and it's a joke. And then, it carries on to the bus stop. You in the bus with someone and, oh, you remember when that joke was made? Haha. And it sticks with you, right? And then you go to college and you realize, like one of the other panelists said, when you're in a group of girls and you see yourself and you feel you're beautiful, and you're in this group of girls who you also deem beautiful, but men start, because you think about it as women, a lot of our identity and the way that society raises us is based on a man, quote unquote, choosing you, or a man finding you attractive and validating your beauty. I mean, obviously that's not all it is, but we'll be lying to ourselves as females if we don't think that some of that is valid. So when you're in a group of women and, they go for the light-skinned girl, and then when the light-skinned girl's not there, then you become, appeasing to them. You start to think about it like, my level of value is limited and is based on who I'm in company with. And that really, it affects your self-esteem. It really affects your self-esteem in a way where you have to work harder to rebuild that self-esteem and kind of like undo the negativity that society has done to your self-esteem. So yeah,
appreciate that. Yeah, you still got about a minute left. Let me ask you a question. Obviously you spoke a little bit about the history and stuff as well. And I think I asked it someone else as well. There seems to always be we spoke a little bit about colorism as well, right? But in terms of, like, let's say Featurism, have you found that to be an issue? Have you experienced that as well?
Absolutely. So there's privilege that comes with Featurism, right? And so there are layers to it. You could be light skinned, and if your features you have super kinky hair and you have wide nose and a thick lip, your privilege is not the same as someone who is light skinned with European features. And if you're dark skinned and you have European features, that kind of bumps you up too. So they kind of go hand in hand with how discrimination happens, colorism and featurism. And it's very important to kind of align those two, because how those two work in combo in your circumstance dictates how your experiences will be, right? So if you're light skinned and you have kinky hair, they're gonna look at you like you're not as desirable because you don't have that curly hair. And so yeah, it really does make a difference. And of course I got that white nose, I got that thick lip. You add the body to it, and you're just a toy. You're not a human being. You become dehumanized because you're not seen as attractive because you just don't have the European features.
I appreciate that. Thank you very much, Adjoa. Thank you very much. Wow, guys, there's been so many experiences that people have shared, and I hope that you guys have kind of got a better I guess a better understanding of, not even understanding of the topic, but more of a case of empathy, that we're trying to look at it from all different angles, because like I said, this conversation quickly becomes dark versus lights, and actually when you're looking from that kind of polarized situation, that's where the fight always happens. And it's like, we're actually trying to understand one another. That's the key thing. If you guys have been on my channel for long enough, you know that's what I always ask for. I don't care about the what's, the where's, and the how's. I care about the why. Because if we can address the why, we can actually get to the bottom of the actual situation and the problem. And so just hearing some of the experiences, I mean, I have a bag of questions. And so what I will do is I'll just ask individual people to come up on the screen to answer a question, because I have questions to kind of just quickly ask you guys before we go into our second segment. So I'm going to ask this question. I'm going to ask this question, and you can unmute yourself and I'll add you on to the conversation. But let's say, for instance, some people may say, we're talking about colorism, but what we haven't spoke about is the fact that, yes, you may be light-skinned, but you get a privilege that dark-skinned people don't get. And I guess I want to be able to get that side of things in terms of factors. What is the privilege? I know what it is, but I want to hash it out a bit more. What is the privilege of being light-skinned in our community and in the world that we are interacting with? That's what I want to ask some of the panelists. But I want to ask it to those who are said to be quote unquote lighter skinned, because I want to hear from your perspective what you understand by that privilege, if that is indeed really true. I think it is, but I know it is, but I want to put it in inverted commas, so you understand. So if you want to answer the question, just unmute your mic and I'll add you to the conversation. Oh, Tina, you're unmuted. Okay, fantastic. Yes, Tina.
I have to say, the moment you're done with your question, I was like, yes, I'm unmuting. Mm-hmm. But having had best friends that were light-skinned, I got to firsthand see the privileges that they have. So just as I can't remember which lady it was, but one of the ladies was saying that when you go to a club and you're in the background, because you're the browner one, the light-skinned girls get... I remember with us, we had one club whereby in terms of getting in, it would always be a matter of, why don't you two quickly go in front and then you come, and then she'll come behind you guys. So it was a matter of the light-skinned girls can get in quicker, and the brown-skinned girls would have to either have a guy on their side to get them in, or their light-skinned friends to get them in. And I think another privilege also is work. Work is another environment where I've seen that privilege happen. I had my best friend who is yellow, who came to work with me at one of the companies where I was working. Mm-hmm. And the moment she started working with me, I noticed the difference of how my boss treated her, and of which our boss was a woman. But the way she treated her as a light-skinned woman and the way she treated me as more brown and darker was quite crazy. I was made to do a lot of the, how can I say, the gist of the work.
Mm-hmm.
And then I remember when I had to take a break because I had to go on a church trip. When I came back, I heard from my best friend that, oh yeah, no, it was quite chilled for her. It was not as hectic. And I sat there and I was like, okay, I do not understand how is that possible. And immediately when I looked at it, the only thing that could come to my mind was our different skin tones. Yeah, and also having, sorry, I'll be done just now, but also having researched, I also found out that apparently within job, when people go for job interviews, if you are a darker skinned woman and you go for an interview and there are lighter skinned women going for the same job opportunity, especially if it's a secretary position, it's more likely that they're going to take the lighter skinned woman because of the fact that apparently more people are more welcoming to a lighter skin than a darker brown skinned woman. Yeah.
Doctor and Kim, do you want to add to that? I'll go doctor first and then Kim can add.
You know I want to add. You can feel it. My eyeballs about to pop out my head.
Go on, sis.
The privilege side of things. And I know it exists. It's not that I'm blind to that. I see that. I know it exists. Did I get it? Nah. But as you can tell, I may not have accepted it either. So, but I didn't get that privilege too often. I had a friend, because she's got a slightly deeper complexion than me, and this is one of my best friends, and she was venting in a situation about what she was going through, and I was like, yeah, I feel you. And she's like, what would you know about it, Naishia? You light skinned. And I was like, girl, when did she know my story. I was like, when did I get treated with light skin privilege? Think about it. And she reanalyzed. Because when you talk about my life story, which is a whole Lifetime movie special, okay? I haven't received that. Light skin didn't get my rent paid by nobody. Ain't no man ever paid nothing for me. I ain't never got in the club for free for my skin. I ain't never got treated better than nobody. I've been treated poorly, even though I love Black men, and I'll never leave the collective. But my skin complexion did not absolve me from any abuse of any kind on any level. Whether my stomach was flat for a couple months, or whether it got a little pooch in the bottom of it, or if my booty looked big and good, it didn't make no difference. I was out here, and the only one that had me the whole time was God. That was it. Because there was nothing that absolved me. I've gone through the trenches, systemic barriers, justice, abuse, things where people would try to make me adjust. I've been told by many times where men would say to me, not because I don't do social media, I don't do pictures, I don't do none of that. Like, this is what's important to me. That's why I'm here. But they were like, Naishia, you cute. You need to show something. Come on, show some pictures. And I'm like, for what? Who paying me for this? Why should I show you so you can take my image and do whatever you do when you fantasizing about whoever? Why do I need to satisfy you that way? There's no return on that, or how jobs would make me. I've been wearing head wraps for the past 25 years. And why don't you take off your head wrap? Our policy is, well, if your policy says this, then I may not be able to work here. Like, they would try to adjust me, or try to adjust my name, or try to adjust because I had a type of look that they were comfortable with, but they wanted me to assimilate more. And the fact of it is that regardless of whatever you think about me, whatever fantasy you have in your mind about me, I am me. And I am Black. I ain't about to go and try to overprove it to you or undersell it to you. I am this way all day. I'm a Gemini, so you might get 7 more of me. It don't matter, because this is how it go. But I am Black. All of me is Black. and I have other mixtures in my history, and I don't deny them, but I live every day as a Black woman. Every day. You feel me?
I feel you. Appreciate it, Doctor. Kem, talk to me.
Yeah, mine is in the work environment. I work for a big insurance company, and I noticed on my team there was this particular, I think she was Hispanic, maybe like a Dominican or a Cuban ethnic group woman. So I noticed she will always get afforded the opportunities to do things in the group. I'm like, what about me? Why can't I do it? And I'm like, if she will get recognition after recognition after recognition, I'm like, but I'm doing the same amount of work.
Ooh.
I don't understand. She will always talk in front of me. I like to talk too. Can I present? I want to present too. Then all of a sudden she gets promoted. So now they ask me to do it. Oh, Kim, can you do this? Oh, Kim, because I'm the next lighter person, I guess, in their eyes. And it's just like so annoying. I'm like, you want me to work 3 times harder than this person, but you won't allow me to do those leadership roles because of how she looks, because that looks better in the corporate America environment. And it's just like, it's really annoying. And then, like my sister, she's deeper complected than I am, and she's lost opportunities because of her complexion. She's lost opportunities because of her features. This girl is very intelligent, 30 years old. She has 4 degrees. She's working on her last one. But because she looks a certain way, they don't want to forward her those opportunities. It's very frustrating being a Black woman because we're always grouped. Oh, okay, well, her eyes are big. Her nose isn't that big. Her skin is kind of like, okay, she'll do. Oh, no, she's deeper. Her nose is too wide. Her eyes are changing. No, that doesn't look this. This doesn't look. And what it does for us mentally is so debilitating. It's extremely. I have to wear my hair like this to work sometimes, just so that I don't want people to look at me a certain way. That's how I used to when I began my job. I was like, okay, I guess I'll wear my hair straight. And then I got to a point I was like, I don't want to look how people want me to look. I'm gonna wear my braids. Began to wear braids. Began to wear head wraps. I said, let me just be how I need to be for myself. If I want to look like this, it's because I want to look like this. I could look like this today and I look like somebody else tomorrow. It don't matter. It's me. That's who I am. You need to accept people for who they are and stop trying to box us in. It's very frustrating, especially here in Atlanta.
Oh Lord, you're not like no.
In Atlanta. Okay, look, I'm saved and sanctified. I don't have time for all that club nightlife. The shorter the clothes, the tighter the this. Oh, she light skinned, her weave is long, her lashes are flying away. You can come in. It's tiring. It's the same pathetic routine out here, and it's like it's even hard to make friends with other women because they even out here. It's like, oh, she looked like this. Oh, if she looked like this, then maybe I can get the same opportunities as her. Let me hang out with her. She get all the dudes. When I used to go to the club, I was Miss Entertainment. I used to be dancing all over the place. I didn't care about anybody, but they would be like, oh, bring Kim. Since she likes to dance like this and she looks like this, she has a nice body. She just bring her because that's going to attract more men. And then when I got on, I was like, dang, so I thought y'all liked me for who I was. You like me because of what I attract. No, like I said before, the layers of negativity have to be peeled away. We got to do the self-work before we let people perpetuate their ignorance on us. Because when you let someone perpetuate their ignorance on you, you will not know how to deal with it. You have to find your self-worth. People don't want to do the work. They want other people to do it for them by validation. That's the problem that we have.
Okay, let me hone in my question a little bit deeper then.
Okay.
I want the responses a little bit more shorter because of time.
Okay.
So, what you guys have hashed out in a sense. So, just to the audience, anybody who's joined, just want to get them to understand. For what you guys have hashed out is that, in respect to what we're talking about, you're Black and you're having the Black experience, irrespective of how light you are. This is what I'm hearing. You're having the black experience irrespective of how light you are, right? You're going through it. And I guess the question I want to home in more is, because I'm able to answer it. When are you experiencing some form of privilege, not in regards to white people, but in regards to within the black community? That's what I want to home in, because I think that's where, and I'm not, again, it's not about right or wrong. It's actually about understanding what position we are standing in within our communities. Is there a privilege for being lighter skinned, and have you experienced this privilege of being lighter skinned within the black community, if that makes sense?
Yeah.
So, Doctor, we have to keep it short.
I'll keep it short.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
It exists. It absolutely exists. Do I experience it? I could. I've been told to profit off of it. Okay. But because I choose not to, I'm so anti. I get punished for it. Okay. In my world, because I did not basically become submissive to the fantasy that someone else wanted to hold over me. So then I became a thing that they reject. You did.
Appreciate that, Doctor. Tina, Kem, you want to add to that in regards to the situation?
I'll say yes. Again, when I used to go out to clubs a lot, it would just be free everything. Like these sections could be like $500, $700. My friends are like, go up there. You stand here, because we won't have to pay if you're here. We don't have to pay for anything. We don't have to pay. Everything will be free. And in my mind, I'm like, well, I want people to have fun just as much I want to have fun. So, I was their little pawn in the whole game of having fun and getting stuff for free from men. And when you come to the realization of what's going on, it's just like you feel, I felt crazy. I'm like, wow, this is really foolish of me to be a part of this whole ignorant mind game that people have. So, yeah.
Okay. Tina, you want to add quick?
Is there privilege? Just as Dr. 100 said, yes, there is. I've had the same experience as Kemende, where with clubs, but also, I guess with me, because there are times where apparently I look exotic. So depending on the hairstyle, when I have my head wrap, it's, oh, she's African. Okay, yeah, I know. She's going to be the ratchet one. When I have the braids, it's, oh, she's the colored one. When I have the long weave, it's, oh, she's the Indian one. So I've noticed in my Black community, it's kind of hard to say this, but I've noticed depending on the hairstyle I had, it would depend on whether my girls wanted to take pictures with me. And it was quite a difficult one for me, because I knew that if I have a head wrap, the chances of us taking pictures, whether we're at the mall, whether we've gone out somewhere cool, it was always very interesting, because then I'd know my pictures would not really be, they wouldn't be very up for pictures. But if I had the weave and the braids, it was, oh yeah, no, let's take pictures. Because then the Black brothers would be like, oh, is that your Indian friend? Oh, is that your colored friend? And I remember one of my guy friends even saying to me, Tino, if you were to work out, you could really kill the Instagram life. And you could really be up there with the Black girls. I won't lie, I felt like stabbing him, but I had to hold myself, and I had to understand that I think that's how Black men who focus on the beauty of Instagram see life. So yeah.
Okay. I know you guys probably wanted to add more, but because of time, unfortunately, I'm gonna have to shift. I've got one more question. So, but ladies, thank you. I appreciate that for answering the question. I've got one more question to ask the panelists. Before we go on to a quick break, and then we'll get part 2, which is actually going to be the actual panel discussion. So, I want to ask those who have shared experience. For those who are of a darker complexions, I put that into quotes, I'm trying to get an understanding. Have you had to, or have you felt the need to have to present a more sexualized representative to be able to almost come to a level playing field? Because I think I heard someone mention it a little bit. So I'm kind of going to ask that question in that regards. In that regards, like, is that something that happens? Is that something that people feel, being of a darker complexion, that in order to get almost the same attraction, or even to get someone to look, or to even get somewhere, you've had to utilize the sexualization part of being a woman or a male, whichever you want to call it, to able to kind of level playing field, if you get what I'm kind of saying. I don't know if that makes kind of sense. Yes, who said they want to answer? I don't know if anyone wants to answer that question for me. Anybody wants to answer questions? No, ladies, no. Oh, Adja, you're open. Yes, go for it. Okay, Nova's obviously as well. Okay.
So I think the thing about it is, when you grow up in a group of girls, you start to recognize what your lane is, right? So some girls with a pretty light-skinned girls, their lane may be just stand there and look pretty, and you're gonna get someone to buy you a drink. And my girls realize that, I'm super shapely, like super shapely. So it's like, oh, go stand over there. Once they see your butt, they're gonna get all of us drinks. So it became a way. I wasn't necessarily interested in it, but it became a way to get my girls what they wanted, because we're here to have a good time. Y'all want drinks? Let's go get drinks. And so yeah.
I appreciate it. T, you want to add?
Yes. So I became aware of my body in junior high, and it was actually, I was getting a lot of attention from grown men, right? I grew up in Inglewood in Chicago. So I would get a lot of attention from grown men. So I never played into it until I was much older, because I did not like that attention. But what I can say is that I always walked into any room. I couldn't, if my girls were like, we're going to brunch after we go to the club. No, I need to go change. I need to freshen up. I need to look like fresh. I always had to be at level 10 to hang out with women that were just like, I just rode on, just put this sweater on, some jeans, and hopped out, because I didn't want anyone to come at me wrong. It was like armor. Like, you had to put on armor just to run errands or hang out with your girls, because you knew you were going to get these really nasty, rude comments or backhand compliments.
I think I've been seeing in the chat, people mention about how, I guess, because the way I was trying to ask the question in the sense of the fact that, is there an over-sexualization then of dark-skinned women? That's what I probably should have been asking. Sorry, I do apologize. The first question, I was trying to get to that point and I couldn't really answer it. Is there an over-sexualization of dark-skinned women? If we could answer that question. T, you were there, so I guess I'll let you go first and then Adra.
Absolutely, there is. When I was dating, what I would notice is I was getting those guys that would want to hang out with me after hours, but I wasn't getting like the daytime dates. And I had to start to differentiate, do these people like me, the person, or do they like me, the body? And it was like, it was cool to be like, oh, dog, look at her body. Like, she's tight, right? She's sick. But it was never about me, my personality, me, my face, me, what I had to offer. It was all about my physique. So to answer your question, absolutely.
Okay. Adra, you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. Because you have to think about it. You're not preferred, right? You're not preferred. You are not preferred. So your value is low. And if your value is low, then you become for consumption because I don't really want to build a life with you. And all I want to do is just use you up. So you become more of a sexual object than even an actual human being. Because I don't want nothing with you anyway. So what can you bring to the table? What can I get from you? So yeah, you do become hyper sexualized, and you start to be seen as just an object and something for pleasure.
Absolutely.
Okay. No, I really appreciate that. I appreciate it, ladies. Thank you so much for that. I don't want to ask too many questions because we've got a panel after, so I'll let you guys talk more there. So I appreciate Tequila and thank you very much, Adra, as well. Okay, so guys, we are coming to the end of part 1. Sorry, ran out over a bit of time, almost like 20 minutes. So, but the conversation, I really wanted to ask a few more questions, but I guess because I want to stick to time, and I said I want to stick to time, and I'm 20 minutes over. But because time's run past, I want to move it on to part 2. But what we're gonna do, we're gonna take a 5-minute break. But I'll play a video in between the time, so you'll see for 5 minutes there'll be a video playing, and then part 2 we're gonna have the panel discussion. So this one we're gonna really go a bit more deeper. This first section was just to flesh out the experiences. I needed to know the experiences of people who have gone through colorism, and I guess get different experiences from each side, because I think whenever we talk about colorism, from what I've heard, it always is that because we're dark skinned, we've experienced it. But I'm very much aware that we're a collective of black people and we have different experiences, and colorism affects us in different ways. So in part 2, we're going to have the actual paneled discussion. We're going to go a little bit more deeper, and we're going to really, I guess, flesh out more in terms of colorism, texturism, and also as well, Featurism as well. So stick around for part 2. My panelists, if you are not in part 2, I will be removing you. I appreciate you so much for coming through. Thank you so much. Hopefully we'll get a second time to have you again on another show and bring you in. So we're gonna have part 2 coming in 5 minutes for yourself. So guys, stick around, don't go anywhere. We're gonna have part 2. It's gonna be in 5 minutes time. I'm just gonna play a video, so stick in here. And we'll come and have a really deep conversation after as well. All right, let me put this here.
Motivation was, what you present towards me. That's what I'm going for. Most of the time, the reason why men go down that route is because of initial conversations, and sometimes as well, men tend to be short of words. I don't really want to go out and have a long conversation and talk about life. I want to get to know you on a deeper level, and unfortunately that tends to be intimacy in bed. That's when most times, for guys anyways, that's when they decide whether they want to continue the relationship or not, or you can find the balance in, okay, do I want to take this seriously, or do I want this just to be a thing where it's like an on and off kind of thing?
That's important, as my brothers pointed out, is that relationship with God. Getting to know God. And what that will do is that it will recalibrate your mind and help you to give the adequate honor to something like sex. Because sex isn't the only area, and it's not the only issue. There's, and those other issues come as we delve deeper into vulnerability and deeper into intimacy. Some people are all right in that department, but they just won't talk. They just won't open up, and they'll just eat themselves from the inside out. So it's important to understand that there are.
It's easy to sell dreams.
Easy.
Let me explain. It's easy to sell dreams when people are asleep.
You
see women, women hear what they want to hear a lot of the time. So there's been a lot of situations where I have said the truth, but I've said it nicely. When you say something like gently, and because I've said it gently and I haven't been so blunt with it, they've now taken it as they've created their own interpretation of it. I'm not saying all women do this, but some women do this.
Someone. So, and that's what we were all talking about before. Understanding somebody, knowing where their intellect is at, knowing how to have healthy conversations, because you would know within that friendship or within those type of conversations whether that person is actually compatible for you. But most of the time is that we forget that stage
and we start backwards. So we start from doing the deed before we start to get to know the person. Do you get what I mean? And most times you're like, you're thinking in your head, oh, I actually don't even like you.
Yeah.
But you've gone through all of that. Do you get what I mean? And that's the problem that we have. We have way too many broken people trying to fix each other. Then we have females who are trying to change males as well in relationships. So they're trying to be like, oh, I need to change this person so they can become better. You know, like I think there's
I'm not as communicative as I should be and stuff like that. So that will cause the person to think, wait, is this is this who I'm with, or is this whom I saw you to be when we were talking or when we were friends or whatever it is? It can cause them to question your character, your behavior, or whether you deceive them into jumping into a relationship. But you have to understand that we all change based on circumstances. So there might be changes while you're in there that might cause you to think maybe it's not what I thought it was. But it's up to you to come up to the other person and be like, yo, this is not what I thought it was, and I'm not feeling it right now. I'm not with it. It's a matter of, are you going to do something about it, or am I leaving?
And so our responsibility is to the ones that are coming after us to say, do you know what? I know what you're going through. I know the toxic experiences that you've potentially experienced. So I remember when I was in university, I brought my godson, I'll make this quick. I brought my godson to university. And when he was in uni, he was in my house, he fell over, he cried. I was like, what? Caleb, what are you crying for? Don't cry. You're a man, don't cry. He's like sucking it up. And when he was sucking it up, one of the girls that was there was like, Tim, don't say that. He needs to be able to express different emotions. If he feels pain, let him be able to cry. And so that kind of threw me off, and I was thinking to myself, after obviously at that point, well, actually at that initial point, I was like, look at this girl. It was only later down the line that I realized that it's so toxic for a man to say that, no, as a man, you shouldn't cry. It's so toxic for us to say that we shouldn't embrace certain emotion and do certain things because, quote unquote,
Hey guys, and we are back for part 2, having the panel discussion on colorism, texturism, and also featurism. So if you missed part 1, boohoo, don't worry, you can catch it up when this actually uploads fully. Actually, you can rewind. I don't know what I'm saying. But part 2, we're going to have a panel discussion where we're going to go a little bit more deeper and kind of, I guess, address the topic in a bit more, I would say, in a bit more depth. Because I think the first part of it was more of a, fast introduction into people's experiences. And now we want to go a little bit more deeper, kind of educate, teach, also as well, and just kind of share a bit more so you guys get a full scope of this topic. All right, so I'm going to bring on my panelists. There's quite a few of us. I think we've got 10 here, so yeah, I'm gonna bring you all on. Some of you haven't been introduced yet, so I'm gonna let you introduce yourselves. Those who haven't been introduced, we've got some newbies here. Novia, yeah, Janice, Brown Bird, and Candice. Oh, it's a panel indeed. Love it. Okay, so obviously people have already been introduced to some of you, so I'm gonna go from my left. So Candice, if you go first, you just introduce yourself, just say hey. I don't know, say a little bit about yourself, because everyone else kind of said their experience. So if you just say a little bit about yourself, Candice, go for it.
Of course. Hey, everyone. I'm happy to be here. I'm Candice. I am from New York. I've had a lot of experience with this topic. I'm also a counselor, so I still hear about this a lot with students. Believe it or not, they're also dealing with these issues. So I'm just excited to be here and talk about it.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Candice. Appreciate it. Brown Bird, okay, you can open your mic. Let us know a little bit about yourself, Brown Bird. You're the only one that hasn't got the camera on, but there's no pressure. No pressure at all.
Oh, my fault, man. Y'all can hear me though, right?
We can hear you guys. Don't worry. Go for it, man.
Yeah, I feel like the oddball, but that's all good. It's Brown Bird. I'm from New York also, so New York in the building.
Come on now.
Talk about colorism. I'm ready for it. Let's get down.
Okay, so now he's ready for business. I like it. All right, cool. If I can get Janice as well. Janice, if you'd like to introduce yourself. I hope I've pronounced your name right because I slew names. Beautiful.
Hi, I'm Janice, and I'm like a former professional dancer. So I went to dance school, and so now I'm just like dedicating my life to tackling colorism. So I have a YouTube channel as well that tackles colorism, talks about the history about it and everything. So yeah, I'm just really passionate about it, and yeah, hi.
Appreciate it. All right, Janice. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. And last but not least, is it Novia? Have I pronounced it correctly?
It's Navia, but that's
Navia. Oh my days.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry. All right, Navia, please introduce yourself. Let us know a little bit about yourself as well.
I'm Navia. I am a mental health therapist and a social worker.
Beautiful.
And I'm from Alabama, currently live in Tennessee. And yeah, this has been a journey from as long as I can remember. So I'm definitely excited to be on this panel.
Beautiful. Thank you very much. All right. So I want to kick off the conversation. I think we got a little bit of a definition in terms of colorism from quite a few people in the previous live. What I want to define now is featurism and texturism. So if someone can give me a definition of featurism, and then someone else give me a definition of texturism, that would be very, very helpful, just to kind of start this conversation right. So I'm gonna go
featurism. I'll speak to featurism. That's looking for what is considered acceptable features, predominantly, I would say, towards women than it is for men. Small noses, that European type nose, that sort of thing, wanting them to basically acquiesce to what their standard of beauty is. The nose is a very prominent one, which is funny because Black women tend to have full lips, and you see with the lip injections now people are taking. So that's one of the other things that they hold on to. Other features, I would say, I would consider our skin color a feature. So it's funny how they don't want some of us darker complected individuals to be as prominently featured in certain areas, even when it comes to the business world. It just depends on what business you're functioning in.
Okay. Anybody else want to add to that definition as well in terms of featurism?
I agree that they would say to me sometimes, "Oh, you got a cute nose," and I'm like, "Okay, thank you." Or you should let your hair down. I like it when you straighten your hair. Because I'm a 80s baby, grew up in the 90s, so I'm grown, I'm about to be 40. So we used to do crazy stuff to ourselves, and the whole natural hair care movement that's happening right now, it's like, I'm like, oh, I wish this was happening when I was young. Because I slapped that foolishness on my scalp, tore myself up for nothing, because we were trying to change ourselves, but they would try to
Doctor,
adjust
before
us.
you go further, sorry, I just want a definition.
Okay. I'll talk all day.
I know. I just want to keep it just at the beginning, just so that people who are coming in will understand what it is we're talking about before we go into further.
I'm sorry,
that's all right. That's right, sis. I want to. See what I'm saying? I want so that when people are watching it, they can understand. So does anybody else have a definition of featurism? If not, I'll ask for texturism. Anybody else have a definition of featurism? Janice has already touched on. I saw your finger move. Janice, go on.
It's kind of like the same as colorism. So it's just a preference for, I'd say, like features that are more palatable to the European aesthetic, because sometimes it can be subjective to some people, and it just depends on what they see. But it's usually features that are palatable, because people say that certain features are European features. So for example, I don't want to ramble, but for example, some of the dark skin models that are popular now, a lot of people say that they have European features, but they actually don't. They just have features that are palatable to Europeans, which is the same as featurism, but it's just but like when it goes to history, it is just based on, because there is certain features that Black people have, certain features that white people have, but now it's just developing into more palatable features, which is why like you see certain people getting lip injections and getting their body done and like tanning and things like that. So yeah.
Appreciate that. Okay. And if we can get a texturism definition, what is texturism? Because that one
LBB.
even LBB. I was like, wait, who's LBB? I was like, is that Jesus who's calling me? I was like, bro. Yes, Brown Bird, talk to me. What do you consider to be texturism, please? If you can define it for us so that we can get understanding.
I was going to say futurism and texturism. All right.
That's well. Yeah, we want to go futurism too. Let's go futurism first and go texturism.
When I was thinking I said futurism. Futurism, right? I was thinking more or less the idea of phenotypes. And with the idea of phenotypes, you may have a difference of women. Like, say, for instance, so-called African American women might look different from certain Africans, and that, or Caribbean women might look different and all that other stuff. And then, like, a term I was thinking about was something like red bone, and about how they use the term red bone, that it was to be applied to light-skinned Black women. But what I find out, truly, red bone means that you have, if you're brown skinned, you have a red undertone, if you understand what that means. So, I mean, when I think of futurism, I'm thinking usually phenotypes, and that can apply to any women. It doesn't matter what nationality. Now, texturism, I don't want to speak too much on it, but it just reminds me of like hair or skin. That's the first thing that comes to mind. Like, of course, texture, like 4A, 4B, 4C, all that other stuff, whether it's kinky or whether it's straight, So
it's definitely a hair situation, because I know they recently, I saw this promoted that they're recently allowing locks and dreadlocks to be accepted in the workplace now. But typically, they want you to give off that. They want you to go away from your natural hair texture and have that more straight look like they present, because that's just their hair. But they want you to get the curl, the kink out, and come in there representative of what they consider to be palatable.
Okay. The mandem spoke. Ladies, texturism. I think the man did a good job, but ladies, I'm going to ask you, texturism. What is texturism? Anybody can feel free to add. Novia, I see you've unmuted, and then Ken can go after.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like texturism is a really big thing in the African American community.
Okay.
With the shift to natural hair. And there is this idea, like, if you're, a 4C, there's a problem. If you're a 4B, you might be okay. If you're a 4A, okay, we're getting somewhere. If you're a 3B, like this level of what's acceptable or not. I mean, I've experienced it at work, but I've really experienced it more within my own community, as far as my texture being a problem or not a problem. I mean, Caucasians really don't know the difference. They just think kinky is kinky. And so, you know what I mean? They really don't know, but we can look at a strand and a coil and a curl, and we make this definitive decision about that person's hair texture based off what we see. And I think it's more prominent with each other than it really is with another race.
Okay, appreciate it. Kim, you wanted to add? Go for it.
Yeah, my like from what I've seen, like on Pinterest, on YouTube, watching all the different little hair videos, it's like the kinkier the curl, the lesser than, the lesser accepted. I don't even know what my texture is. I'm like, it doesn't matter. It's hair. You have it on your head, but it really is just the tighter the curl pattern one's hair is. That's what texturism in my mind means.
Okay, I'm going to get one more person to add. Anybody else want to add in terms of texturism before I ask my first question? Candy, did you put your finger up?
Yes. Can I just add, I agree with the definitions that I heard just now. I just want to add on to Novia's point. I'm so glad she mentioned that about it happening within the community. I noticed that regarding the 4C texture, it's usually glorified the more hair that you have. So it's like if you have that texture, you need to have a lot of it. It needs to be long in order for it to be accepted. Versus like when you do the big chop and it's at a shorter stage, it's usually not even within the Black community. So I just want to highlight that, like even with the tighter textures, you need to have a lot of it, or it needs to be something that would really stand out, get all the likes, be shared in order for it to be desired. Not something I agree with, but it's what I noticed.
I hear you. No, I hear you. So let me ask my first question to the panelists, and it's more, well, the guys can answer after. I'm going to kind of change it slightly for the guys. But in terms of obviously, like, because we're talking about hair now, we're talking about texture, we're talking about texturism in sense. When I say good hair, what is the thoughts that are elicited when you hear the term good hair, and how does that feature into texturism? T, you touched I saw you move your finger a little bit, T. So
well, I was probably the first one to touch the unmute button because I've been a hairstylist, and I kind of became a hairstylist because of this. And I've been licensed since 2009. And so I've had adult women in their 40s and their 50s literally cry in my chair because of the texture of their hair. That was like the one thing they wanted to change about themselves. But to answer your question, this term of good hair, the natural hair, movement that started like in 2006 has really tried to weed out that. But then with the crazy overtaking of YouTube, what you noticed were the curly haired girls that were more in the type 3 category. They get more sponsorship. They get more, followers. They get just a bigger platform, right? So, good hair is a very heavy, it's really, really heavy. And to be honest, our parents, my mom is like she's in her early 60s. They still use it. If I go to my mom's hair and I blow out my hair, and she'll say, where you going with me like that? And I'm like, what's wrong with my hair? All I did was, it's a big afro. And she hates, she doesn't think that that's, good hair,
Good point. Before you go, I want to ask you a question. So when you say, just because obviously I'm a YouTuber, and I'm very much aware that especially when it comes to the female section of things, hair is a big thing. So I want you just to kind of just touch on that. When you say, like, for instance, we were just saying 4C, 3C, what I don't know nothing about this. What does that even mean?
First off, I will first say professionals hate the hair typing system because when people come in, it just creates all this sort of madness, around hair texture. It doesn't help as much. It may help to like teach women how to care for certain textures, but it doesn't help in terms of good hair. Like that, it really, that kind of is counterproductive. But I would say it's just the amount of women that cry over their hair texture. And see, I have a different relationship with it as a professional. So when you're connecting with someone, it's very personal to have someone sitting in your chair and you're standing over them, and they're older than you at times, and you feel all this pain coming off of them, and they got PhD. You're like, girl, shut up, you got a PhD, what you talking about? And it's like, no, they are really hurt over something that somebody said to them in 1982, and they have not let it go, So it's really heavy, and I try not to minimize it, and I love like making them feel beautiful, I mean, it's temporary for them, but I mean, yes, therapy is needed. The counselor on the panel probably understands that, but I do like the way they get out of the chair, and you can feel like they come out of the chair and they're like a little bit of a different person for a moment.
Appreciate it. Thank you, T. So anybody else want to answer that question in terms of when we're talking about good hair? Adra, do you want to go?
Yeah. So good hair really is manageable hair, right? So like if you're on the 3A, 3B, 3C, and maybe 4A, your hair texture is easy to just comb through, wash it, and go. But when you start going to like 4, and even 4B may be a little bit more manageable. Once you hit 4C, your coils are so tight that it's not easily combed through. Like you have to, it takes a lot more effort and a lot more product for your hair to actually be manageable. So when we think of good hair, we think of easily manageable hair. Now, one thing that I also want to say is that because our society does not promote having 4C hair, there's not a lot of products that will help with the manageability of your hair. Because if you go into Africa, they mostly have 4C hair. And they didn't chop their hair off. Nobody over there was bald. So there's a way that you can make it more manageable, but it's not promoted as much in our society. I mean, now with the whole natural hair movement, you're starting to see a lot more promotion of like certain types of products for hair, but really it just has never been. So good hair has always been manageable hair, curly hair, cute hair. You can put water in and walk out kind of hair.
Okay.
Can I
Anybody
just
else want to add? Yes, Janice.
I just wanted to say, yeah, with the manageable hair thing, it's true. Like, we just don't have any research. Like, we don't know what to do with our hair and things like that. And especially in Africa, because I'm first generation, so whenever I go, like, literally all the girls have relaxed hair. You know, I remember when I was, I think I was like 12, and there was like a wedding or something, and like I had to get my hair relaxed before the wedding and things like that. So it's actually really big there. Like, they relax hair, like everyone has relaxed hair. And I don't know what it is, if it's like the thing where they have to shave their hair off at a certain point in their life and then they have to grow their hair. So it's like hair is a big thing, and then because of the westernized standards, like they relax their hair and things like that. So it's just like nobody wants to. And then on YouTube, when everyone that's promoting natural hair is always hair that isn't type 4 hair, so it's like we don't have anything for ourselves, so we literally just have to either be bold or wear wigs and stuff like that. It's like we don't really have anything for ourselves. Like, if we have a movement for ourselves, it's always infiltrated by something that the Europeans think is more palatable. That makes sense.
Okay, I appreciate. I wanna speak to the guys now. So obviously, because we're talking about hair, innit? And I'm gonna confess something that I realized a few years ago. Okay, so I think the word would be, I don't know, do you call it a fetish? Do you call it a fetish? Do you call it texturism? I don't know how you call it. So when we grew up, one of the biggest things was light-skinned girl with the curly hair, right? That was pushed. Like, listen, we loved all black women, but when you saw the light-skinned girl with the curly hair, the man them, we feel the man them just something different, right? So I wanted to ask the men on the panel, and by the way, I've come out of that now, guys, okay? I mean, I still like it, but I'm saying I've come out of that thinking, you understand? But I want to... Ken was like, oh, okay. But, you know, it was a real thing. So, but I want to ask the men on the panel. We're talking about now, we asked women a little bit in terms of texturism, in terms of hair. Can the men spot texturism? Do you guys, can you spot, and are you conscious that when you're looking at a woman, you're looking at her hair and seeing different textures? That's the question I want to ask. Or is it something that we're just looking at this hair?
Brown Bird, you want to handle it first, or you want me to go first?
Optimus Prime, you're already there, bro.
All right. My own personal view of it, and this is how I look. I have daughters, and some of them have their hair relaxed. One wears her hair natural and cuts it off regularly, which used to drive me bananas. Now I look at it as she's a grown woman. If she's comfortable, she's happy, I don't care. She's still my black baby. So I don't even care about that anymore. There was a time where you in the UK, I'm in the States. I live in Atlanta, which is considered kind of like the black hair capital of the world, between Bond Brothers, Hair Show, that sort of thing. But I don't necessarily, care about that anymore. Now, in my younger days, yeah, you wanted the girl with the long hair and all that. Listen, I had a horror story where the girl didn't know, stuck my hand in her hair. My hand got stuck, was like, what's up? She was like, oh, that's my weave. And I was terrified, dude. I mean, terrified. Woke up the next day, her hair was sitting on the dresser. I'm just saying. So, you make an adjustment, you grow older, and you start to learn hair is just that. As long as she's comfortable with it, it shouldn't matter to you if it's straight, if it's curly, if it's short, if it's long. Is she comfortable? Is she happy? Then who are you to demand that she change her hair to suit you? Because there's demands women can put on man. Some demands we ain't got no control of. I'm gonna leave it there.
Brown Bird.
Let me say this, man.
Go for it.
I mean, honestly, if you're talking hair textures as type as like light skin, brown skin, or dark skin, I just don't care. You know what I'm saying? Like girls are say 4A, 4B, 4C. I don't know what fours y'all talking about. Like I just don't care for it. You know what I mean? So to me, it's like I'm not gonna lie. Like I always say this. I say the nappier the better. You know what I mean? I don't mind the naps. I love it. You know what I'm saying? Certain girls be like, I don't like wearing a short afro. I'm like, what you talking about? Take that bonnet or take that the hair wrap off. I want to see it. You know what I mean? And I ain't gonna lie. I've been a little bit judgmental to the women that might have wear the weaves. You know what I mean? It just depends on how it's wore. You know what I'm saying? Because that's not lie. Like sometimes you might have certain women that have the weaves and they just look ridiculous. I ain't saying every woman. I ain't saying every woman.
Bro, chill, bro. Hey,
no.
I don't want you cancelled. No, bro, I don't want you cancelled, bro. Listen, we're doing a texturism conversation.
I show love. You know what I'm saying? I keep on the texture. But I'm saying, like, mainly my thing is, as long as she looks presentable, that's what I care about. You know what I mean? And that's what I mean. Like, because there be certain people that just don't look presentable. Let's be real. But just getting to my point, I just never really cared for the different hair textures. It's like, as long as you're presentable and you're pretty, that's what I'm gunning for. So that's my take on it. But I've never really tried to associate skin color and texturism and be like, oh, well, she's better because she looks like this. It's like, if she's attractive to me, that's it. That's the main basis of it.
Okay. I appreciate Brown Bird. And just to add, ladies and gentlemen, listen, I'm not going to lie to you, yeah? A level 1 for me is really attractive. I don't know what it is. Ladies, if you do level 1, I'm on it. I don't know what it is. Hey, Dani Gray, please holler at me when you can. That woman was level 1. Oh, beautiful. Anyway, so the question I'm asking, obviously, ladies, as you're hearing this now, because we're talking about texturism and how we were speaking about how something's more palatable or presentable. Are we talking about more in a sense of a professional, in terms of like professional environments where people are in a work office, or we're talking about, you know, presenting, being on TV shows, etc.? Because I'm hearing from two fellas who are saying at the age they're at now, hair is, we don't know what 4A 4C even looks like. Like, is that the truth of what you guys have encountered in terms of men not caring about hair textures, or is there another side? Maybe we just got unicorns on the panel. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Kojo, can I say something on that?
I'm asking that question. You know what I mean? We might have. Before you go, Prime, before you go there, Prime, let me ask the ladies first, and I'll let you respond. I promise you, I'll let you respond. Sure. So, ladies, someone can counteract that, just so that we can have an honest conversation. Do you know what I mean? Because we may have unicorns on the panel. So, ladies, do we have something different? Do we have different experiences of texturism in that regard?
Yes.
Okay, go for it, Doctor.
When I was younger, I used to do the texturizer in the hair to have the curly look, but I would wear my hair up in clothes, bonnet, like a bun type often, or straighten it a couple of times a year. And I went natural, like $100,000 organic 2009, mainly because I was getting sick and I needed to do a process of elimination to figure out what was what. And I realized I had multiple grades of hair on my head. I never knew, because I had been doing this to myself since 6th grade. So once I started to wear my hair out more, I really got to be treated a certain kind of way. They were like, so your hair it's kind of curly, but it's kind of nappy. And the change, you could see the change in people's face, because before it was that wavy curly, because when my hair is blown out, it's thick, like little Rudy Huxtable went back in the day. And then when it's wet, it's curly. And when it's straight, it looks like Kim today. It's straight, like that. But it's long. And depending on the style of how I would wear it, it would change how people would treat me. And I was like, you know what? I'll wrap all this up. And I ain't unwrapped it since, unless I feel like it. And it's rare, but now it's more protective because I'm very sensitive to things and I just don't want stuff messing with my hair. But the way I wear my hair changes things. And especially with men, especially because they be like, ooh, whatever their little fantasy in their head. And this is not all men, I'm not going to be like that, like all men are like that, but the types I'm talking about, the ones that's just thirsty and they just say anything to you. And I mean, oh, I like it when your hair long and curly like that, girl. I mean, let me holler at you. Let me talk real quick. Or when your hair straight like that, you look so professional. You look so beautiful. You look so, and it's just like, you don't even see me. You don't see me. You just looking at what you are fantasizing about.
I get it.
You know,
I appreciate it. Thank you, Doctor. Anyone else want to contribute towards that particular conversation? Ladies, this is your time to shine and tell the stories, ladies.
I'll go. I remember, and I would wake up one morning and go cut my hair. I remember when I did that, and I came home. My dad was looking at me like, "Why did you cut your hair?" And I said, "Because I wanted to." And I was like, "What?" I said, "What do you like?" He was like, "I like when women have the long hair." And I said, "Look at your life." Look, to be honest with you, from experience, what I've seen growing up, the men that I've come across, they don't like the beautiful, tight curls. They don't. I had a jerry curl in elementary school.
Come on now.
So my mom, just because she just didn't have time to do my hair like that, it was just easier for her to put that, that those chemicals in my hair so that I could just go to school and just put the activator, the cream in it, make it wet, and and I got made fun of because I had that, that I would call it a fake curl pattern in my hair. And it took years for it to grow out. It took years for it to grow out. But growing up, the boys didn't like that. Oh, your hair is napping. Why is it so dry? Why is this? Why is that? And I mean, that was my experience. It was traumatic, honestly. But the people I come, they don't like it. Girls too, they didn't like it. Well, why don't you straighten your hair? Why don't you do this? Why don't you do that? Okay.
I appreciate it. Okay, thanks, Kim. Adjoa, you want to add?
Okay. All right, Kojo.
Oh, Lord.
So.
Oh, my gosh. I haven't even got a wig, but my wig's going to be snatched. Go on. Yep.
So I'm going to respectfully challenge these brothers because I don't know what y'all are talking about, okay?
Oh, Lord.
Listen, let's be real. Let's be absolutely real. If there was someone with a huge afro standing there, a black, beautiful woman with an afro, and another one with weave, snatched and beautiful, lashes on, lipstick on, whose picture are y'all gonna like? Let's be real. Because if our men did not promote this lifestyle, there wouldn't be Instagram girls. There wouldn't be people who are trying to get implants and all of this. The weave business actually would not, because those things cost. But we got to put it on because y'all don't like the afro. So you may not know what 4C and 4A and 4B is, but you know what you don't want. And that gets communicated to us, right? You got a big afro walking through. Can you imagine going to the club with an afro? You think men will hit on you and talk to you?
I mean,
no. No. You would respectfully hit on somebody with an afro, Kojo?
Listen, I love it.
Brown Bird definitely would hit on a shorty with an afro. I like them puffs. What you mean?
That's what I said. We're unicorns on this stage out here.
Maybe we got unicorns. Maybe we got unicorns. But what I know is the reason why a lot of women aspire to this. I'm sorry?
I said, I think you generalizing this and just making the assumption what an example of men that you've encountered or what has been put out there. There are a lot of men. I know the circles of men that I run in. The circles of men that I run in, they like women the way they are. They accept her if she chooses to accentuate her hair with weave, with hair extensions, whatever. They don't make bones about it. As far as a woman with an afro, as I said, one of my daughters wears her hair natural. That's my baby. I love her. My wife wears her hair natural.
Let her land, then you can respond. Let her land.
And I recognize, and I have recognized that you guys might be unicorns. But the point about the matter is that in life, we have experienced so many men who will say the same thing, but then would choose someone with weave or would choose someone with this, or happen to not have the bonnet on, and they're going to be asking you, oh, what happened? What's going on? We about to go out. You got to look this. You got to look that. So yes, I'm not discrediting you for feeling the way you feel and even voicing that. I appreciate that. And I'm sure a lot of us dark-skinned sisters with coily hair appreciate it as well. But the reality in our experiences does not match our two beautiful brothers on here saying that they like that.
Understood.
And that's the point.
Prime, you want to now respond?
Yeah, one of the things I'll say, and I think if we're being honest, historically, Black women have advanced past the thought process that Black men have, and by that I mean Black women, for the most part, accept Black men across the spectrum. They do. Black men, on the other hand, tend to have a certain type and expect Black women to mold themselves to fit that type. They want you to look a certain way, behave a certain way, and at the same time telling you, you got to accept me. This is who I am. I'm keeping it 100. And that just shouldn't be that way. And when I say Black women are ahead of the curve there, it goes back to the colorism component because, like I said earlier, there was a time when dark-skinned men weren't acceptable. Black women got past that. They accept Black men, period. Dark, light, they don't care. Black men, on the other hand, show themselves to have this stereotype of only wanting that light to bright, damn near white. And that's what they want. Now, on that same scale, I will say, because I know, and I have someone that's my best friend, there are some light-skinned women that are just as Afrocentric, just as true to their Blackness as any dark chocolate Black woman. So they have gone through some of the same things that dark-skinned women have, especially depending on where they came up with and who they've been around. They've experienced some of those same hardship. They've been talked down to, they've been belittled. You know, it just depends. All light-skinned women aren't afforded credibility based on that skin tone.
Okay. So, yeah, this is difficult. Yo, Audra just came at my neck. You know what I mean? I'm just playing with you. All right, so let me say this. Listen, I understand where y'all coming from, right? I feel like in certain instances, it does ring a bell because I do understand there are brothers that make fun of women because they wear their afro, they wear their natural hair texture. I still hear on the other side, it's brothers that say, oh, I don't like the lace front. I don't like the weave. I don't like the tracks. I don't like that. I don't like the braids. So it's like on both sides, I hear it. So I can't make a determinant and be like, oh, well, you know, this is the status quo for brothers. You know what I'm saying? I can only tell you like, it's a tricky situation because they'll base it mainly on looks. Now you can be a woman that might have a weave that's like 20 inches or whatever, and a brother will accept you based on how you look in the face because he views you as attractive. So he'd be like, man, the weave don't matter. She look good. Or she got the body. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of ways to really dig into this issue. I'm not trying to backtrack, but I'm just saying it's just like, you know, it's a lot of things that come in. And I feel like certain men may make compromises in order to, you know, deal with the woman or be in a relationship with that woman, especially when it comes to texture of hair. That's just my point.
You know, it's interesting because I think both sides have got a point, but I do understand what Adjo was kind of saying in the sense of the fact that, again, this is why I use the term unicorn. I think we have some men on this panel who don't subject themselves to some of the norms. But I can tell you from my own experience in terms of dealing with men, like they have a type. Let me say it like that. Like, do you know what I mean? And so when it comes to the hair texturism, we may not know 4A to 4C, but we know some certain types, right? So would I say some men wouldn't approach women with afro? Yeah. But I also believe I think that what we're talking about is the majority in terms of experiences of women, what they've faced, versus what us men who are, I would call it again, unicorns are saying. So unfortunately for us men, I know Brown Bird and Prime, we are talking almost from a unicorn perspective because I'm seeing nods and I'm seeing heads going like that's not the experience that they felt. So that tells me that if most of the panel are disagreeing with our viewpoint in terms of what they've experienced from men, then we are the unicorns on the panel. And so in that regard, as for me, listen, if you're an afro, that's beautiful. I love the afro. In fact, I actually don't like weaves. I actually don't. I'm UK born based, but the African culture permeates me a lot. I love the natural hair. I love that. If you want to do extra extension, I don't mind. But if it's in braids, fantastic. Let's keep it in that. I like those kind of stuff, man. All that stuff. If you ask my ex-girlfriends, they'll tell you I was really pushing for the braids and all of them. I just like them kind of styles, like afros, braids. I love that kind of style. I'm not a big fan of weaves. No offense. I'm not a fan of the straight hair. That's not me. But again, I understand nuance of conversation that some of us are unicorns. So back to the actual conversation as well at hand. When I'm going to move away a little bit from texturism a little bit now, and go into obviously featurism, because I think that's a very strong one. So I remember there was a big conversation around Ari Lennon, and she was getting a lot of stick. Okay. In fact, I remember some years ago, Mario got the same kind of stick too for his nose. So, but there was a lot of stick for Ari Lennon in terms of the fact that her nose being a feature, the fact that a lot of guys gave her vitriol online. So I guess I want to ask this question to the panelists in regards to featurism and it playing into colorism. How much does featurism play into our society and how we look at beauty? How much does it really play? Does it actually make much of a difference? Let me ask the panelists that genuine question.
Yes.
Who said yes? Go for it. Oh, okay.
And the reason I say yes is because, no shade to Brownbird, but he's repetitively said the word pretty or reference looks, and I feel like that's subjective.
Okay.
And so when you say that, there's so much that goes into that, and normally it is based off your features.
Okay.
Even some of the comments I'm reading, because I'm reading the comments as you're talking, it's like, oh, my friend had, an afro, but she's bad. Well, what does that mean? What does that even mean? What does it mean to be bad? What does it mean to be ... whatever you want to say? Because a lot of that goes back to your features.
Okay.
It can go to texture, it can go to color, but a lot of times it's based off your features. And I think that's subjective, and a lot of times we got to be a little bit more cautious of what we're saying and how we're saying it, because what you think is pretty, somebody else is like, that ain't for me,
Okay.
And what you think is not, somebody else like, she is bomb, she is gorgeous. So to continuously say pretty as if there's this one standard for it, I think we have to be a little bit more, especially as African Americans, aware and try to be a little bit more cautious with our words of what that means. Because I think, no shade, but as Brownbird was talking, every woman was giving a face of like, what is he saying? Because we was trying to figure out what does that mean as we are processing colorism, texturism, featurism, and all that. Like when you say the word pretty, it gets a little bit subjective and unsure of what you mean by that.
Okay, I'll let Brownbird respond later on. Janice, I'll let you, Kem, did you go? You were first. I said Kem and then not Janice, isn't it? So yeah, Kem and then Janice.
Yeah, when I think of featurism, this statement just comes to my mind. You're beautiful in your own way. It is so disrespectful to put somebody in a box because person A's nose is bigger than person B's nose. What does that person's nose have to do with you? I don't like that we keep perpetuating beauty. Oh, she don't look like this, so I don't like her. You can have a preference, but you can't demean somebody because of something that God put together. Using the word ugly, she has a nose of a dog, she looks like a horse. Like, we got to stop doing things like this to each other. And we mainly do it in our community. Let's leave the others out of this and let's focus on this array of rainbow of brown that we have here. We keep demeaning each other because, her eyes are this, like this, her nose, her lips are huge, her lips are too. We got to stop doing that. It's debilitating us as a group. And that's why we keep going back and forth with each other.
Appreciate it. Janice, you want to add?
Yeah, I just wanted to add to what Ajuwan Kem said as well, because every ethnicity has their own insecurity about features based on European standards. So Asians are insecure about their eyes, and like we're insecure about our lips, our nose, and things like that. It's all based on European standards. So if we look at before slavery, there wasn't a European standard because we were all amongst ourselves. So sometimes you have to look at why you think somebody's pretty and why you think somebody's ugly, because you may think it's subjective, but is it based on what you're seeing in the media? What is the standard? Is it based on what is it based on? What do you think beautiful is based on? Because beautiful has been set. There's a standard because of slavery and white supremacy. There's a standard that's been set. So we have to look at whether we're upholding the standard, we're upholding it by our views. We need to think about why we think something is pretty and why we think something else isn't pretty. Because then when you look back at it, you're like, oh, I think this is pretty because, you know, she has this skin tone. It's all about why we think something's pretty. That's basically what I'm just saying. Like sometimes we may think it's like subjective, but it probably is because of the standard that's been set. Yeah.
Appreciate you, Janice. Anyone else want to add? Go on, Tiki. Yeah, go on, Tiki.
So, kind of like what Janice was saying, it seems to be all under the gaze of whiteness, like everything, like that's the benchmark constantly. Like speaking to the larger portion of it, which is colorism, then you have texturism, you have featurism. I will say clear and flat out, people used to say the rudest things to me, even though I would get teased relentlessly as a child, only for my color, literally nothing else. People would always comment about how I got my mother's side of the family's features, right? And they would tell me that as if that was like, oh my gosh, you're so lucky you didn't get your daddy's nose, you know? And think that I'm supposed to be like, oh, well, thank you so much. That's just lovely. But I would have dark-skinned girlfriends, you know, in high school. And they would always tell me, like, I have this very flippant personality where it's like, you know, F those people over there, what they're saying about you. And I would have these particular two friends always tell me, you don't get it because you're not dealing with the way, and we didn't have the verbiage at the time. We didn't have all of this vocabulary to really talk about it, right? And they were trying to pick up on this sort of quote unquote confidence that I had. It wasn't really confidence. It was a real FU sort of just mindset that I had, because I was very observant of people's like brokenness. Like I could see it in them because I like read a lot. I used to be that kid that was just in my room just reading, trying to get to the bottom of things that I was observing in my family, in my household and whatnot. And it became, and I guess that's kind of why I went into the beauty industry, trying to give these women some form of, you know, confidence and like constantly telling them like, you're beautiful, you're intelligent, you got this, was because I had experienced those girls that I had grew up with, and they were so hurt by some of these comments all surrounding their nose and their lips. And I'm just like, to me, that's insane, but it happens and it's still happening.
Okay. Am I hearing correctly that I don't want to stay the conversation, because what I'm hearing is obviously specifically, like for instance, when you mentioned T, that the ladies might be coming to you and saying, you know, they don't feel beautiful because of their lips and their nose. So specifically, they have been shown or told that those features are unattractive.
Yes.
Is that what I'm kind of saying?
You've obviously broken this panel down to do colorism, texturism, featurism, right? And so as a dark-skinned girl, when I was a girl, I wasn't understanding the featurism part, right? Okay. Because there's layers to it. And what would happen is if you have the wider nose, right? Then all of a sudden you have masculine features, right? Because what happens is they break our faces down to being our faces, our hair, our color. Dark is masculine, bigger features is masculine. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how they break us down. Tighter hair is masculine. Like if you're like that and you're a guy, you're a man, you're everything. But if you're that way and you're a woman, then you're missing pieces of your femininity. You see what I'm saying? And so that's the added layers on top of all of the, BS.
That's deep. That's deep. Anybody else want to add before I let the guys respond?
I agree. Think about how they treat Grace Jones, right? Grace Jones is beautiful. She's beautiful. She looks like a statue. And she is 70 years old and she's still bad. And you'll hear comments like, Grace Jones, or how they were even doing Denise on Rated Love, right?
Love, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I wanted Denise to win so bad until she got to lying and acting the fool at the end. But I was like, oh, Denise, don't do me like this, girl. I was, oh no, baby girl, don't do me. Oh no. But she's gorgeous. She is gorgeous. And I mean, her skin is flawless. She's body bad. Everything. She's gorgeous. And people were gunning for her because of their self-hate. We are still operating off of the mental health disease of colonizers that existed centuries ago. We still living by these crazy rules by people who were mentally unwell. And we are trying to make it normal. Come on, counselor, help me out. You here, tell me something. What's wrong with us?
Post-traumatic slavery syndrome.
Can I quickly add that based on what everyone said about the especially what T said about when she said that someone said that she's glad that she didn't have a father's nose. That's actually something that it kind of goes both ways as well. And then that's why there's layers to it as well, because we say colorism, then we say featurism, then we say texturism. But that actually happened to, I had a friend that was actually light skinned, and it actually happened to her. They were basically saying, oh, you look like your mom, you're so, like, she's so pretty, but oh yeah, you did get your father's nose. So it's kind of like, it happens to all of us, and that's why, like, when it comes to colorism, featurism, texturism, we need to come together as like a whole people to fight it, because it's not anyone's, in us as Black people, it's not us who created it. So I feel like sometimes if we divide, so sometimes I feel like people may think light-skinned people don't suffer from featurism or texturism, but they do as well. So we need to like come together to change our mindsets. Otherwise, it's not gonna change. That's all. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to add.
Okay, let me get Brown Bird on, because obviously you came from my boy, you understand? Yeah, Brown Bird, don't let me down. So obviously in regards to, you almost about to drink out. So obviously in regards to the comment that was made in terms of, because I think this is a really, really good part of conversation, because I see where the tension can come in. So I'm gonna ask you questions. So in terms of obviously then mention about the fact that maybe when you said pretty, it can be concluded as, what did you mean by that? So you can clarify the statement and then we can conversate from there.
Yeah, I'm gonna be real with you. I have no idea. You feel me? Because it's like, if I say pretty, I say attractive. Of course, it's gonna be subjective. I could say to a woman she's pretty, and somebody else could say, oh, she's not attractive, or she's ugly. So at the end of the day, there's nothing I can do about that. The only thing I can say is, in that man's mind, he might find her attractive or call her pretty, because we already know how far that's gonna go. So that's why I'm trying to stay away from that. I wanted to see if I can give a quick story about the featurism thing from a man's side. All right, so I'm an African American. So it's like a couple of times when I would how do I say it? When I would meet up with certain women, they would ask me what type of Black person I am, and they would be like, and as soon as I tell them I'm an African American, they would be like, oh, I never would have figured you an African American. I'm like, what you talking about? They'd be like, nah, I would have figured you're Dominican or you're Caribbean, like you're Jamaican. I'm saying, well, what about me makes you think? Yeah. What about you makes me think that I'm Jamaican or all these different things? Like, what are you trying to say about African American men? Like, I don't understand that. Like, I've got that on a few occasions, but I never really cared for it. But it's like, is there some type of exotic look that distinguishes me from other African Americans to say that African American men can be just as attractive as Caribbean men, or all these different things? And it was just an interesting point. It didn't bother me, but it's something I thought about, because I was just like, why Am I exotic? Is because I'm a red bone or something? I don't know. Like, it's just crazy to me. But I mean, that's something about Featurism that was just on my mind. I just wanted to share.
Were those black women?
It was a black woman.
Listen,
it was a black woman. It was a black woman.
Featurism is real.
It was a black woman, a Latina woman, and as far as I'm concerned, a couple of other people. Even certain people that I was cool with, that was dudes that was cool with me. They sat up there and was like, you know, I didn't know you was African American. I'm like, well, I don't know why. That's weird.
Prime, did you want to add? Oh, can you not hear me?
No, what did you say?
Oh no, I was saying, did you want to add?
No, I just, I honestly look at the panel and I just unicorn or not, my thoughts just run the gamut in terms of I've gotten to a point in my life where I accept people as they are. Okay. I do not look to. Life has taught me. You place expectations, you set yourself up for disappointment. You open yourself to acceptance, you'll tend to be a little bit easier going when things don't go how you expect them to go. So when it comes to people in general, across the spectrum, especially when it comes to my own people, I'm not looking down my nose at anybody. I'm not looking down my nose based on how you look, based on how you dress, based on what you're driving. Everybody that's dark ain't ugly. Everybody that's light ain't fine. That's facts. That's reality. So accepting people as they are, as long as they ain't coming for you and looking to do you harm, I don't know how that can be a bad thing. How I can look at anyone and just say, yo, they're good people. All the other stuff, why it would be great if it went a certain way, if it don't, that's not my call to make. My call is to do what I can do to try and be a better person than I was yesterday. So I'm not passing judgment on anybody. I'm trying to accept people. And don't get me wrong. I ain't always been this way. I had some major assholeian tendencies. I grew up. I'm being honest. I grew up.
That's a new one.
I grew up. You grow up. Once you grow up, you start to look at things and stop always looking at how it benefits you. One thing I'll say is, when we've heard it from our black women here, I say this because I mean it. If more of us as black men spent real time with our daughters, telling them how important, how smart, how beautiful they are, no matter what they look like, I mean real time. I ain't talking about sitting them in front of a TV while you play PlayStation. I'm talking about spending real time with them, daddy-daughter dates, little things like that. Teach them how they should be treated before they even get out there. So they have a standard because they know their father has taught them how a man treats them. If more of us did that, less of these other things would come to the forefront because they've already been empowered with knowing how smart, how beautiful they are, because they're the main man who should be telling them first has instilled it in them. That's just how I feel.
Can I add before I let Kim go? It's interesting that you mentioned about telling our daughters how beautiful they are. There's a missing part of that equation. You can tell them all day if you want, but they're not going to date you. They're going to date you men. Do you understand? I'm not saying you said anything wrong. I'm just saying I'm adding to the equation. The problem that we have in our society, it seems, that it's almost like us as men, especially, and I know I'm part of the men's species, so I can tell you that we only do half the equation. We suddenly understand what life is about when we have daughters. Suddenly we get the understanding of what life is about and how to treat women when we get daughters.
Because everybody we've engaged with was somebody's daughter.
Exactly. But the missing part of the equation here in this, as we're having this conversation, the missing part of it here is that there ain't no black men telling their sons black women are beautiful. So that missing part of the equation is that when they now go to meet black women, they haven't got that information. So black women can hear that all day and know they are beautiful, but the equation doesn't include me. I'm a dad now, so it doesn't include me. It includes the boys that are coming after who need to see the black women as great. So I'm not saying you said anything bad, by the way. I'm just saying, I'm just adding to that.
That I agree with that, because that's a twofold thing. That just like that man needs to be there to talk to that little girl, that man needs to be there to show that young man, that boy. Here, I'm the first example you see. The same-sex parent is the most influential on a child. So if that man is not there showing his son, this is how you talk to a young woman. This is how you treat a young lady. I have a son. I've told my son point blank, and he knows it. You ever get mad at a girl where you think you finna lose your coat? You take her home. All that, I'm finna lose my control. You can't talk to me. That she is your equal, period. Because if you'll do it to her, imagine somebody doing it to your sister or your mom. Because you know that ain't gonna sit well with me. So you're gonna be out with somebody's daughter. So I think across the board, more of these young men who feel like they can just disrespect a woman, post videos of her, talk down to her because of this and that. A lot of that stems from a black man not doing his job. I will fully own that. Now, not all of us, but in general, that's the lack of a black man showing a young black man what a man is really supposed to be. And it ain't how many women you can sleep with.
I hear that.
That's how you define yourself, how many notches you put in your belt, not if you take care of your family. I'm a hustler. Well, can you hustle your kid to the emergency room on a hustler, or do you have insurance to make sure your kid gets the best care? That's a man. You take care of home first. You don't take care of the streets.
I hear that. So I hear that. And so before I'm gonna let Kem go now, but when you're saying, the reason why I picked up on what you said is because psychologically you mentioned a woman and didn't mention a son. So I didn't know you had a son until now. So psychologically, if you deep it, if I'm looking at it from a psychological point of view, you already know how I do. When people say stuff, I watch, because if that means there might be a greater emphasis on how we treat our black daughters to how we're treating our young sons. So you may say it, maybe once in a while you say it, right? But it may not be of equal footing because you understand how the world is as a man, etc., etc. But this is what I'm talking about. That struggle we're fighting a struggle right now. The struggle is that there's no equality in the way that we're dealing with our sons and daughters. So now women are going out there looking for great men. They ain't none. Because they ain't
being raised by them.
It's mini amount. Do you know what I mean? Because the men have to do their job in terms of raising their sons to say, hey, look, I'm piling to my daughter and telling you you're beautiful. Let me tell my son, listen, black women are beautiful. Listen, don't be looking. I'm not saying don't look anywhere else. That's kind of prejudice. But you know what I'm saying? Like we gotta be able to put that same energy into the sons as well. But let me let Kem go because I know we were talking. I appreciate Prime. Kem, go on. Sorry, apologies.
Let's
let me have a moment.
So Ron Bird said something that hit. He talked about women thinking that he was Caribbean or Dominican or something else, and I guess they kind of felt let down when they found out you were an American. So a lot of that happens. And I will say, unknowingly, I've done it before. I remember, I think it was this girl, and I thought she was from Trinidad. She just looked like a lot of, just had strong Caribbean features. And so I was like, oh, are you from Trinidad? No, I'm American. I was like, oh, you're American? And then after I did that, I felt bad. I was like, why did I just say, oh, you're American? She's American, but she's black. She can trace her ancestry to the Caribbean, even further back to Africa, if we want to do that. So I had to correct myself. Yeah, I'm Nigerian. And let's be real, most Africans, we do this a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, you're just a black American. You're just this. And it's a habit that I had to stop because I know that it does something. It makes that individual feel probably less than, like they're not enough, and it's not good. Or for example, me, I've been pointing out, oh, you look different. I was like, what do you mean I look different? Oh, you don't look like no American. I'm like, okay, so what do I look like? Oh, are you Dominican? I'm like, do I look like? I said, what does a Dominican look like? Are you this? Are you that? You look exotic. Now you put me here. Exotic, plain. I mean, like, we keep categorizing each other, unknowingly belittling each other, making each other feel less than. Oh, I don't look exotic enough. I look just plain. And, we have to really hold ourselves accountable. We have to really think before we even speak, so that we're not hurting someone else's feelings because of how God created them, how they look.
Appreciate it. Adra, you wanted to add? Sorry, go for it.
Yeah, I do. I think we really have to understand that the system was not created by us, number one. And the way that the system was created was for us to fight each other, right? And so with that said, media plays such a huge role in the images that they put out there. And the reason why a lot of us are saying, and Brown Bird, this is definitely not against you, but the reason why a lot of us are saying that the word pretty is so triggering is because when we hear pretty and the picture comes up, it doesn't look like us, right? It doesn't look like us. And media puts these images out of racially ambiguous women, and TV leading roles are not of us. I mean, things are changing a little bit, but it just doesn't look like us. And so when we think pretty or we think of the most desirable, it's kind of triggering for us because we don't belong in that category. And that's really where we're coming from. So you, in your mind, you're thinking pretty, but that pretty word we're associating it with what we see in the magazines, what we see in the movie, what we see just being portrayed in the media.
So Aja, can I ask you a question real quick?
Yeah.
All right, so if I was to say, if I use the word pretty, right, would you think that I'm talking about a biracial woman, a white woman? Would that, when I say the word pretty, would you think that's in your mind when I say that?
I don't know what you're saying, but I know it's not me.
When I use
no, wait, hold on. This is not personal because
no.
I love me. I love me, and I know I'm bad. Okay, I love me. No. I'm just trying to clarify. Like, I love me, and I love the way I look. But my point is that for that average Black girl who has not done the self work, who has not, because I wasn't always like this, right? Experiences from high school and middle school and college this is not how I always was. I had to do some self work, and I had to realize that I love me. Not only that, but that we're spiritual beings. This is just an outer shell. This is just a vehicle for me to get to where I need to be. So when I stopped putting as much value on this outer shell, I realized that what's inside is what I value more. So whether you value my outside or not, I don't really care. So that part of it doesn't have an effect on me. But for that little girl or that woman who hasn't done that work, I'm just trying to shed light on where they're coming from when they hear pretty and it's triggering to them.
Okay, that. Go on, Brown.
Just a curious question, since because I never understood that about pretty, and you brought this to my attention. Okay, I just want to know, for all the ladies in the panel, are there certain words that may feel like it may trigger y'all, especially if us as Black men say it? Like, does it relate to something that you might feel we're putting other women of other nationalities on a pedestal? Like, what words do you think that we say might make you feel that way?
Good question, bro. Good question.
Naps.
Naps? Who's saying naps to you lot?
No, Robert had said something about when we were talking about texturism.
Oh.
I know he wasn't saying it in a negative way. But I mean, I understood what he meant. But I know that can be a trigger for a lot of Black women.
Okay.
And because I feel most of us may look at it in a negative, like naps. What you mean naps? Why does my hair have to be considered nappy?
Okay.
I just have a tighter curl pattern. You know, so I feel like people got to tread lightly with certain words because you don't know who you're offending at the end of the day. Not saying you directly, Brown Bird, but just generally speaking.
This is interesting. Ladies, any more words? This is really good. I think we're just breaking down some barriers here.
It's not a word.
Differently. We'll go for it.
But
the
phrase, "You're pretty for a dark-skinned girl."
Hey, that one, yeah.
I heard that, yeah.
That one, yeah. Astronomical. Go for it.
What does that mean? So, yeah, that phrase needs to just die.
Yeah, that's like a backhanded compliment when I hear that.
Yeah, that's in the bin. Let me ask a question, because you know what, Brown Bird, I'm hearing you, bro, because there's a question that came up to my mind, and it was before I go into the question, I also want to say as well, like, so to clarify, I want to very clarify because I can see some comments in the question, just so that Adjoa can clarify this quickly. If, let's say, for instance, I say, Adjoa, you know what, you're pretty, is that going to be triggering? I want to make it very clear so that people know, who are watching and listening, because you are pretty, you know that. I want to make it very clear for the audience don't get misconstrued, because I think you made a really good point, but I'm seeing some of the comments and I don't think they're really getting what you're actually saying, just so that it doesn't get misconstrued. So you can unmute yourself. If I'm calling you pretty, Adjoa, or if I say, if I'm having a conversation with you and saying, oh, do you know what, I met a girl and she's really, really pretty, is that a cause for triggering? I'm asking that question so you can clarify your point.
So it's not triggering for me, and that's why I had to clarify. Like personally, it's not triggering for me. But my younger self, it was, because you have to understand the history of how this trauma happens. You're in kindergarten and you're called dark, ugly. And then you go to middle school and they're choosing the younger girls. When you start actually realizing your sexuality and realizing that there's this thing of opposite sex attraction, and you're not picked as being attractive because they want the lighter skinned, curly haired girl. And then you go to high school and they're turning lights off, talking about all they can see is your teeth and people laughing. You go to college and the men are choosing the lighter skinned girls over you. This level of trauma allows you to understand that I am not that desirable one. I am not the pretty when you say pretty. But if you do the self-work, which obviously I'm saying I have done, then you become to remove yourself from that. But if you have not, I'm just trying to shed light. This panel that we have is not about us. It's about who's watching and what they can benefit from it. So if you can at least understand that for some women, it can be triggering, then, I'm not saying don't use the word pretty, but I just wanted to point that out, that it can be triggering. Because obviously we brought it up when you said pretty. Obviously Novia brought it up when you said pretty, because we all were like, huh? What do you mean?
Can I comment on the opposite side of that?
Go for it.
Like, because her explanation was perfect. But it's not to say that it's like, oh, someone calls me pretty, it's the death. But I automatically don't believe you.
Ooh,
because
we're getting deep. Okay.
I learned early that because I was the girl who was the light skin, the long hair, and you beelining for me because I'm something that you're fantasizing about, but I don't see me the way they may have saw me. Because like I said, I change color depending on season. And when you reject someone who looks like the people I love, because that's how when I looked at my mom, I did not see my mom, I saw me. But I look like my dad and I look like my mother's mother, who was very light. And I really, if you look at me and there are two pictures, I look like them smashed together. But in my mind, I'm seeing my mother's face. So when you reject people who look like my mother, I saw that you're rejecting me. And then you're looking at me and you're licking your lips in weird ways about me. But it ain't me. It's what I got that you think that you can satisfy your instant gratification for. So I don't believe you. And I've had people, especially men, say, Naishia, I think you're beautiful. And I'm like, yeah, whatever, dude. And they be like, nah, for real. Like, why you so hard? Like, why can't you just let me tell you pretty? And I'm like, all right, calm down. Like, because I don't believe it at first. And it's like, it's a shield, because it's like, they lying. And it take them a couple times and they kind of got to shake me like, girl, you crazy. You pretty. And I'm like, am I? Oh, well. And it's a psychology thing, because you learn early when they're coming for you, because I don't want your invitation for molestation. I don't want your invitation for rape. I don't want your invitation for abuse. I don't want, and those are the type of people that come for you first. Real men, it take a minute for them to get to you. And then by the time they get to you, you might not hear them because you've had to shield yourself from being objectified, whatever the case is, because they don't want you for the right reasons, because they'll abuse you. They don't care who the abusers don't care who they abuse. They just might pick in the order of which they abuse first. So I don't want to be first in line for your foolishness, but sometimes that's how it go down. So it was triggering for me, and I'm learning to check that. I'm learning to see my own beauty, but it took a minute. I'm just now getting here.
Okay. Do you know, I love this, because this is really going deep, and I'm going to let the ladies continue the conversation. So I'm going to piggyback off what Brownbird was saying about, let's say, pretty, right? So I'm going to throw something wild in there for you guys. So when some guys may say, listen, some of you are hard, because what you described there is that I genuinely meant you're beautiful. I came to you and I said you're beautiful, and you took my genuine compliment as he's playing game, or he wants to move mad, or whatever. So when we're, because this is how stereotypes build up. right? What's happened is a real cycle. We've been, as a community, abused, right? And the way that we're operating is we defend ourselves. We have our defense mechanisms. Then guys are now approaching women who are defending themselves naturally because of what we've gone through. Now he goes and says, okay, yeah, I'm trying to get to know you. You're like, well, you got to say at least 3 or 4 times, at least see me 3 or 4 times and say it. So I really believe what you're saying. I'm just going by what you said, innit? You got to say it 3 or 4 times before you get to understand, before you can get close to me. And then that guy goes, okay, if I've done that with, and this is, I'm just trying to give an understanding here. That guy goes to 3 or 4 black girls and says the exact same thing to them. You're beautiful. I think you're beautiful. Da, da, da. And each one he gets a rejection. And then now he begins to formulate a mindset based on what he's seen. Again, I'm not saying this is right. I'm kind of giving you an example. I'm giving an example of something. Now he goes, yeah, I don't date black women because they're hard. I don't date black women because, you know, they don't. When I'm complimenting them, they don't believe me. When I say that I actually like them, they reject me. Although I'm hearing what you're saying, I'm giving that nuance of the other side. Where it's like when some guys start saying that, again, I don't agree with that. But when they start saying that, can you also see that point of view? Because if you've got the cynical point of view, it becomes a cyclical cycle. Not all men, because some men are they really don't like black women and they hate them. We're not talking about them. But we're talking about certain guys who have tried and then it's like the rejection happens and it's like, okay, if I've done it for 2 or 3, the same way you've had an experience and you've built up your walls. Now a black man saying to you, I'm not doing black women. Because when I go to white women, when I say you're beautiful, they take it on. But when I say it to you ladies, in my experience, I'm not saying him, I'm just giving an example again. In the experience of the person might say, I've done it 2 or 3 times. Why am I going to continue doing something that don't work? Now we've got a situation. Oh, go on, ladies.
My fault.
Oh, okay, Bramber, you're going to say something. Okay, go on, Bramber. Go, and I'll let Janice go after. And then Candice.
My fault, ladies. I got y'all. But I was going to say, like, that does happen to brothers that I talk to. You know, it's like, and I'm not trying to, you know, say in a way to be condescending or anything. Just like, bear with me. My thing is that, you know, you'll have certain brothers that'll say, hey, look, I like the way your hair look. I like the way you dress. Or, you know, you look beautiful today. Or they might use the word pretty and we don't know that it offends y'all. You know what I'm saying? And I understand whoever's saying it. Yes, I understand that each woman is different. I do understand that. But there might be brothers that might try the same tactics and same approach, especially towards black women. And they'll notice that a pattern is going on. And then it's just like, well, damn, my feet is tied. I tried to say something to relate to them. I tried to be Mr. Nice Guy, and I'm still getting rejected. But if I say something to another nationality of women, they seem to take it more with applause. And I'm not talking about myself. I'm just talking about brothers that I've spoken to. You understand? So my thing about it is, just like we always talk about experiences, it's experiences of rejections on both sides. And then there's brothers that'll say that women hold on to things that's in the past too much. They can't get over it. They can't let it go. They might have baggage and all these different things. But I'm just saying that in regards to things that I've heard. So if any woman want to touch on that, you know, I'm just saying.
Janice, you're going to touch the mic.
Yeah, I was just going to say that it's just the trauma response. Like, we're just all, I will say we're all as black people traumatized, like we all have trauma, but because of the way like colorism has developed, black men have been able to kind of get away from the from the stereotypes, but they've kind of been able to benefit, especially dark-skinned black men, they've been able to benefit slightly from it. But us as dark-skinned women, like we're
still where you are
every day, whether it's in the media or whether it's somebody made a song about us, somebody made a comment about us. It's always every day something new. So it's kind of like so some people just don't deal with their trauma in general. So that's how they live their lives. But yeah, it's just a trauma response really. But we need to obviously we need to do the work to get out of that trauma, especially because we see it so much in the media. So sometimes it's hard for us to actually think, oh, is this real life or is it not real life? Like the way some people think, is it real or is it just the media? We don't know whether it's just what the media shows or if it's actually something that happens all the time, like 9 times out of 10. So yeah.
I appreciate that. Candice, you want to add? And then T will add.
Yes, just to add, I do think it's a response to trauma. However, I feel like in that situation, I guess responding to Brown Bird, how about having an open conversation? Not to you directly, but I just feel like in general, maybe a deeper conversation needs to happen. But to Kojo, to your point, if a man compliments a woman and she says, he says that she's beautiful or pretty, whatever the term, and she says, "Oh, I don't believe you." He says, "See, you Black women, y'all always doing that." That says a lot about him and how you were going into the situation. So it's kind of like you already made an assumption before she even responded, and you were quick to do that. I think the best response to that would be, how about having a conversation, asking her why she doesn't believe you, going into essentially what we're doing here right now, deeper convos, hearing what her experience was, and then I think it will allow understanding and that we can move past this. But to then just make a snarky remark or go into the biases, I think that's part of the problem right there. But
I agree that as well. So I think this is, and I'll let T hit. I think this is why I wanted to allude to that, because what's happened here is that there's a difference brought in between your response and my response. So you're giving yourself an allowance that when you respond, it's your trauma. When I'm responding, and I'm saying that because I gave an example that he's gone to 2 or 3 Black women and got the same response. So in his head, he's seen a pattern. He's now speaking on the pattern. I'm not saying it's right, but I'm seeing he's got a pattern in his mind. You are also repeating your pattern. You've seen men are not, when they say you're pretty, it triggers you. I've seen men say pretty and he doesn't really mean it. So now you're operating on a pattern. The difference is when you're operating on a pattern, it's trauma. When the man's operating on a pattern, he's trying to be. So there's no allowance for the man. Do you see what I'm saying? So I'm not saying it's. I'm not saying that it's. I'm saying that there should be both ways. We got to understand one another. I don't agree with the brothers that be saying, listen, hateful stuff about Black women. I don't think you need to date outside and then say hateful stuff about Black women. That for me doesn't make sense. That shows me self-hate. Yeah, that when you do that, that's self-hate. But I also do understand there are nuances to the conversation where some people have gone 2 or 3 times and they've seen that doesn't work. They've gone to a white woman or a mixed race woman and it's gone easy. And so all they've seen is a pattern. And they've operated on the pattern. Whether it's right, I wouldn't say it's right, but I'm saying I can see why they're making that decision. But T, please, you were going to say something.
Yeah, because I know we're saying trauma and maybe guys don't understand that. Like the good guys maybe don't understand where that is coming from. As early as when we're 14, 15 years old, we're walking to the corner store in our neighborhoods, we get verbally abused by a guy that says, "Hey ma, how you doing? You looking good today? Oh, thank you." And then it's like, "What, you think you too good to me? F you." And so that literally happens to us from the time we're junior high age throughout our lives, as depending on where you live, because it does start to change up depending. And I don't want to attack neighborhoods. I grew up in Chicago, in certain neighborhoods. That happens a lot. And so then when you mentioned the thing about being able to go to different other groups of women and you say that to them and they're like, "Oh, well, thank you." With us, we gotta walk out with this layer of armor, with almost a layer of masculinity, just to protect ourselves. We gotta walk out there like, I gotta be ready for anything that comes my way, because if somebody say something to me today, you get what I'm saying? And so then the good guy comes and he's like, "Hey, I think you're really, pretty, and I see you walking." It's like, I'm not for it. I gotta get to school. I gotta get to work. I don't have time for you right now, because I know you. I'm gonna say, "Hey, what's up? We're gonna exchange numbers." I'm gonna say something you don't like, then you're gonna call me out my name. So it's just like a repeated thing, and unfortunately, because a lot of fathers are not talking to their sons like we were talking about before. So they're not getting that thing. Like, you don't speak to when you don't go to the suburbs and other nationalities of women are walking around and they got someone in the gas station, calling them out their name from across the way. Like, I've not ever witnessed that happening. I have a daughter that is now about that age. I'm never putting her in that position. So going back to the word pretty. Yeah. It's this thing, you can't walk around feeling pretty, because pretty is so closely related with, soft, damsel. We don't get to be that. Who's protecting us? I've never seen anyone in the gas station at the corner store say, "Hey, bro, don't talk to her like that." That's never happened. So you got to protect yourself, and in protecting yourself, anybody can get it.
Oh, can I tap into just a taste? Ooh, T, you my new spirit animal. Bless your soul, cause you just. I'm telling you, when I was coming up, and it's not like I didn't come up in Chicago. I'm from Ohio, and Ohio's weird. It's just a whole bunch of weird, but it's a lot of pedophilia here. It's a lot of human trafficking here. It's a lot of quiet, dirty nonsense here. And so, the pedophilia types would come and hug you, linger too long. Hey, sis, and then having, your aunts or they make you put on a slip. I come from old school where you had to put on a slip because your booty getting too big, right? Because you got to get checked before you put that on, and you want to be free. You want to wear your cute clothes, and you want to wear your booty shorts, and your booty too big for the booty shorts because they looking at you, and they about to come and get you. And I had to learn how to fight early because I didn't fight girls coming up. I fought dudes. Like I would throw hands real quick with somebody because they would try to try it, touch you, squeeze your booty real good, or, grab your breasts or do something. And sometimes you had to play it off in because it was too many of them and you knew you couldn't take them on. And then there's some days where I'm at least have to take out 2 of them. They might get me, but I'm taking out 2 because they gonna see you. It's like, and you just have to become warrior mind about it. And then, because till this day, I'm smooth. I'm an easy person to get along with, but there's a thing in me. If you cross it, you're going to see something else real quick, real fast. And they be like, don't mess with her. Now, Naishia crazy. And I'm not. I've been traumatized
to a point.
And to where you don't feel safe. And I've had to learn how to read the room, adjust, and be cool. Because because not even other sisters can come. Sometimes they won't, and sometimes they can't come to help you because they might get attacked too. Or some are so traumatized that better you than me, right? We got a couple of them who will sell, we've got some women who have sold other women off into a bad situation because they couldn't take it no more. Right? So it's, and I didn't come up in the roughest, but it's a lot of undertone, a lot of we had one of the place where I come from in Ohio had the highest teen pregnancy rate in Ohio at one point in time for a very long period, and they were all by men who were much older than them. And it was normal. For years, you could be married off in Ohio at age 14. That ain't nothing but human trafficking, and that ain't nothing but slavery legalized. They only just now, like maybe 2 years ago, changed that rule to 18. And what year is it? We are in now?
2021.
Okay. And I live inside of a prison city, inside of a prison county, inside of a prison state, inside of a prison country. They making money off of this. In my particular state, $1.9 billion out of that prison industry gets made, and not $0 go back into the community to reinvest in human service and healing services. Not one. So they make money off of our poverty and our pain and our fighting against each other. It is a profit to them.
I want to thank you, ladies, for sharing that, because if anybody's watching this back, and I hope some guys will watch this, and the younger guys especially, because I think this is like one of the most interesting conversations, obviously, because I've sat down with my friend who also does sexual violence stuff, so I've kind of picked up a lot of the stuff that she goes through and stuff. But when you hear it, it's whenever you're receptive to hear it, you understand the plight that we're facing, right? So like myself and Brown were just saying, obviously, bruv, I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have said pretty. I'm not gonna lie to you, I would have said pretty. So I was confused. I was like, well, what's wrong with pretty? But the way you've explained it now, I totally get it. Right, I get your point of view, because that's for me. Words are normal to me. Like, if you're pretty, you're pretty. If you're beautiful, you're beautiful. That's what I think. But now, when you've explained it, I get where you're coming from. So there's a case for that. Our community needs more conversations like this, so there's more understanding. Because as for us as guys, if I've never heard this conversation before, I'm thinking, what the hell are you talking about? I just said you're pretty. Why can't you take a compliment? But when you've explained it and we've taken time to unpack it, I get where you're coming from now. So the grace now to deal is different. Do you understand? So if anyone's watching this, we just wanted to really understand and get to the grips of what we were talking about, because I think I think I saw some comments and I was like, I wanted to kind of bring that understanding for people to understand where we're coming from and what we're talking about. So thank you very much for that, ladies. I want to ask a question though. Last question, I think, because we're going over the time. Last question I want to ask you guys. When does preference become colorism? At what point does someone's preference become colorism?
Can I answer this question?
You can indeed, sis.
I think part of the issue is when you feel like you have to downgrade the thing that you're not choosing. It's rare. And I grew up, I'm from Alabama, I said that, but I grew up in a white area. I went to school. I went to a PWI. I've never heard white men talk about white women the way I hear black men talk about black women. Ever. Now, they might say some stuff amongst each other, but publicly, never. And so when it becomes an issue of like, okay, maybe you do like light skin or dark skin or whatever, but you never have to degrade the other person that you're not choosing. Like, that becomes a problem. And I want to go back to what you asked about, the trauma and giving that same grace to a man that we give to ourselves. Dr. 100 is all I can see, made the comment and said, she's had some trauma, but she still chooses black men. She made that comment. She makes that choice. So when black men say, oh, you rejected me, so I'm going to choose something else, that's a choice that you're making. At the end of the day, as a black woman, I've had all of my trauma from black men. And I still want a black man. You know what I mean? I'm still married to a black man. So that's a choice that you're making. That has nothing to do with, oh, you rejected me, and so now I feel like I got to go and choose something else because you can't handle rejection. That's not my problem. You need to go and pray about that. You need to go and talk to somebody about rejection. And I think another thing is black men feel like they have more options. They can choose outside of their race, right? That's a whole different conversation, but they feel like it's more of an option for them because of society, because of, other races kind of coming for black men, wanting that, there's a lot of historical thing behind white women wanting black men, whatever. And as for black women, we're like, but I don't necessarily want to do that. I still believe in black love despite the trauma that a black man has given me. I still want to birth black children. I still want whatever the case may be. And I've had some friends growing up who said, oh, I'm going to date white women because I want a white man because I want mixed kids.
I've heard that, yeah.
Okay, that's your decision. That's not what I want, though. So despite my trauma, I've made a conscious decision that I'm still willing to fight for the black family because it's important and it's valuable. If you decide that you don't want to do that, don't make that my trauma, saying my trauma is making you make that decision. That's the decision that you made.
Ladies, you want to add? You want to add to that? Who wants to add to that? T Chem, you know. T
So,
and Chem, sorry.
Your question was, when does preference? Can you repeat it?
Yeah, when does one's preference become colorism? At what point does it become colorism?
I think when it becomes toxic, or when it is toxic, because straight out the gate, when you guys were speaking about earlier, we teach our daughters one thing, and then we teach the sons another thing. So I don't want to put a relative on blast, but I have a brother who he just loves me. He wants my opinion about everything, right? Like, I helped raise him, right? He wants to tell me all his good news every second of the day. He's 25 years old now. But I am seeing the same thing from him that I see with younger guys or guys in his age group, where he has this preference of lighter women. Right? Now, I know because I raised him that that's more of a self thing that he's, projecting. But it's still a preference from him. So I think it can be toxic, or it turns into colorism even when it's self-hate. Even if you're not talking about other, even if you're not talking negatively about dark women, right? Or about, even if it's, you're choosing a whole other group of women to choose from. I think it can be, as long as it's when it's toxic. Because let me be transparent too. My husband, I'm married. My husband is not Black, right? So we don't sit around and talk about, right, Black men. Like, we don't do that. It's not like we're gonna sit here and have negative conversations about Black men. You know what I mean? My father is Black. I love him dearly. You're not gonna sit here and say horrible things about, people who look like my father, if that makes sense. So anytime that it becomes toxic in the sense where you have to put someone else down in order to lift someone else up, that's problematic, right? I love my husband. He's amazing, but I'm not about to put this group of men down in order to make him feel amazing. That's just not going to happen, because then am I choosing him for him, or am I choosing him just because he's different? And not different because, he's different in personality. I mean, maybe he's different from these people because I didn't get to know him. No, I just met this person. We clicked, we vibed, we moved forward.
Okay. Kim?
I think it becomes colorism when the person continues to glorify how they look. When you bring it up, oh my gosh, you're just so beautiful. Your skin, it's so yellow, it's so light. Your eyes, when you keep bringing up this person's complexion, their features, it becomes colorism. And then that person needs to start thinking, why are they with me? Are you with me because of me entirely? Mind? I'm not going to say body. Mind? Or are you with me because of how I look? And everybody likes how I look. That's when it becomes colorism. That's when it becomes a problem. And that's when that particular individual needs to question the relationship they have with that person. And I think that's what most people are not doing. You have to question what they're saying, their actions. Like, why are you with me? If you're with me because of how I look, then we don't need to be together, and you need to go see a therapist. I mean, I've dated outside my race. I've dated a white guy. I've dated an Indian man. I mean, the Indian guy just straight up fetishized me altogether. I'm just gonna be real. He just had a thing for Black women. I was like, okay, this needs to stop. It's getting weird. Same for the Caucasian. It was the same fetish. Oh, she's Black. They just being, oh, she's Black. She's beautiful. She's Black. Her body. Like, what is wrong with you? Now you're sexualizing me. You're making me into this fantasy thing that you want to explore. That's when, as individuals, we need to take ourselves out of that equation before it turns into something very ugly. So I think we have to make choices. We have to make decisions for ourselves so that we're not continuously putting ourselves in these emotional trash bags, to where we can't even think straight. But yeah, it becomes colorism when you start pointing out certain features and complexions of that person and you can't say anything else about them.
Okay. That's a good point. Anyone else want to add? When does it become colorism? From preference to colorism, when does it get to that point? When is it? Brown Bird, go on, sir. Whilst you're talking, I'm going to Lou because I need to. I just drank too.
Yeah. I'm gonna say it like this. I'm a unicorn, so it's hard for me to speak. So I'm gonna say this though. What I analyze is it could be the idea of kind of like ignorance. You know what I'm saying? That's what I peep out, because if we're gonna go in the dark skin type of narrative, like I've seen, I don't know if people see it like I see it. Like I usually see dark skin people, whether you're a man or a woman, they usually go for lighter skin, or like, in this instance, like white people. And I don't, if you ask them why, they'll just tell you, oh, because I like them. But I'm just like, well, how come this a common thing that I usually see? And it's no shade, date whoever you want, but it's just something that I see. And I'm just like, well, it's kind of, I don't see too many times you have a dark skinned woman with a dark skinned man. You know what I'm saying? And then it's like, I don't really see it. So it's like, I don't know what I'm supposed to say to that. But colorism, I mean, again, I'm a unicorn, so I can't really speak on it because I like all shades. But it's just like, if I'm going out with a dark skinned woman, I don't want her to feel like I'm going out with her as a charity case. Like, psychologically, that's in my mind. Like, especially if she is the one that's saying, oh, I've been teased all the time for being a dark skinned woman. I'm like, I get where you're coming from, but I actually find you attractive. It don't matter that you're dark skinned or you're light skinned or you're brown skinned. It don't matter to me. And it's like, this is the thing. I actually prefer dark skinned women. I just like dark skinned women. Something about their shade is just dope. But it's not going to stop me from dating a brown skinned woman or a light skinned woman. I just don't really care. But I can understand, like, when you have rappers that say, I need that red bone, and we're talking about red bone as in light skin. I can understand, like, you got the brothers out there that's putting these other women that's like a shade lighter and all that other stuff on a pedestal. I can understand that. That could be ignorance. You know what I'm saying? And of course, we can relate it to the whole entire European indoctrination. That's a given. So, I mean, that's my take on it. I mean, the other brother can speak, but that's how I see it.
Is it? Let me ask a question. Is it? So here's, I think, one of the big things that has even made me have some trepidation, if you want to call it so. All my girlfriends are dark-skinned black women, and recently, like, the women that have been coming towards me, I sound like Kalfani right now. Women that have been coming towards me have been of a lighter skin tone, right? And I felt fear, and here's why I felt fear. Being someone who's in the media eye, soon as you date someone who's light skinned, the assumption is quickly made you're a colorist. Actually, in fact, it happened to me wasn't long ago on my own comments. People were saying I was a colorist just because I told a light skinned girl that she looks pretty, and apparently I only called her the only one, that was the only person I called pretty. So that's why I was asking that question. At what point does it become? Is it a preference? Or is it attraction? Like, if someone has dated light-skinned people, let's say his first girlfriend was light-skinned, second girlfriend ended up being light-skinned, and third girlfriend ended up being light-skinned. Is that black brother or sister showing coloristic tendencies? Is that person showing coloristic tendencies if they're dating what they're now used to? Is that coloristic tendencies in that respect? I want to ask that question to the panelists.
No, I mean, that's what they're used to. From what I've seen, I see a lot of darker or deeper complected men with lighter complected women. I mean, it's just kind of like that opposite is attractive to each other. I mean, I like deeper complexions for men. I do, but I'm not opposed to someone who's my complexion or lighter, or who's white. I'm not opposed. I'm just open. But if they're used to that, then no, I don't think it's colorism. That's what they're used to. But it's colorism when they say, oh, I only want this light-skinned girl because I only like light-skinned girls because deeper complexion girls do not, I'm not attracted. I don't like them. And then negative after that. That's when it becomes a problem. But if that's what you're used to, that's what you're used to.
Okay, let me stay there with me, Ken. Let me follow that line of thought. Okay. So if, let's say, for instance, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I think white women are attractive, but I'm not attracted to them. You understand? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I'm not about to start dating in that way. I'm strictly black. Yeah. Is that then part of the? Okay, it's not really colorism because they're white, but is that in the same kind of bracket as that then in terms of what you said? Because let's say, for instance, I'm saying I'm really not about to date outside. I can only stay in this track. Is that then in that same bracket then as somebody saying I'm only going to date light skinned, I don't like dark skinned women? Is that in the same bracket? Is that? I'm just kind of asking for myself here, guys. I want to make sure, I'm saying I'm not listening.
You can find someone else attractive, but as I feel like as long as you're not negating someone else, the opposite of that person, It's not an issue. It becomes a problem when you keep saying, "Oh, I don't like her. She dark skinned. Dark skinned girls act X, Y, and Z." That's when it becomes a problem. When you're saying, "Oh, I've never dated a white girl before. I think she's pretty. I would like to date a white girl." Do you get what I'm saying? When you follow it with a negative, it's a problem. That's when it becomes a problem. I don't care if black man dates a white woman. That's fine. Date on, brother. Don't start saying, "Oh, I don't date black women because she aggressive. She wears heat." You get what I'm saying? Like, no.
And may I comment?
Go
and I've only dated inside of my race, and it's not because I am just, as you can tell, I have my mannerisms about myself, but I've never been approached by anybody else. That's just what it is. So, and I don't live in a very culturally diverse area, and unfortunately I'm not as well traveled as I'd like to be. So, my god brother, he married a white woman, but he went to school in a white school. He went to, even though his family's black, he loves black women, but who he connected with, who he had more engagement with, were white women. And it had nothing to do with his rejection of himself or black women. That's who he fell in love with. And we know that happens. Because there is real love in the world, but we do have a lot of 3D nonsense that we filter through and before we can get there. And sometimes these other factors interfere with our dating experience. And I'm not anti other people. But I've never really been approached by, we could be cool, we hanging, and ain't nobody said, "What's up, Naishia? How you doing?" And other than a black man, that's just what it is. That's just my experience. So, that's just life.
If I could jump on real quick.
Before you do, Prime wants to add, and then you can go. Go for it, Prime.
All I was going to say was, given the climate historically between us as men and women, and I'm talking in black, you find somebody who can tolerate your idiosyncrasies, put up with the things, dealing with their pet peeves, who gets you. And I mean get you. They get you. The stuff that drove other people crazy, it drives them crazy too, but it ain't a deal breaker. You find that, don't be stupid and throw it away because your ego and your pride get in the way. You find somebody that love you for you. I don't care what other people say. You got to do what's best for you. So that's the way I look at it, male or female. That guy that your friends may look at and say he this or he that, but if he true to you and he being real, and when I say be real, that means he keeping his hands off you. Because love shouldn't be beating you down and causing black eyes and busted lips. All right, love shouldn't be costing you collect phone calls either. I'm just keeping it 100. You know what I'm saying? So it shouldn't. A mistake happened, yeah, but long term, love shouldn't be running up your phone bill collect. So and love should be there to support you when times get tough. Love shouldn't be having you going to the prenatal care visit alone. It shouldn't. You didn't make the baby by yourself, so love should be walking there if you're walking, or love should be on that bus sitting right next to you. So again, in today's day and age, if you can find somebody that wants to deal with you and yours, get with them and get with them in the right way.
Appreciate it. Go on, Andrew, you want to add?
Okay, so no preferences. Having preferences is not the issue. We have preferences in food. We have preferences in car. We have preferences in clothes. We have preferences in scent. So that's not the issue. But when you have to devalue the other side to promote more value in the side that you have preference in, then that's where it becomes a problem, right? And I think Kim mentioned glorifying that side, and other people also mentioned, just attacking the other side. That's when it becomes a problem, because it's almost as if in order for you to show how much value the side you like has, you have to make the other side unwanted. And just for what? But if it's truly a preference, why do you have to demean the other side? Just choose what you want and just keep going. But if you're demeaning the other side, then there's a level of fight that you have in you in order to make the other side feel less than. You're actually sending a message. So it's not even about the side that you have a preference in. It's about the side that you don't have a preference in. You're sending a message directly to that side, and you're making it very clear, I don't like you. Who needs to hear that? We don't. Choose what you like, keep moving, and let it be. So that's when it becomes colorism, when you have to send a message to the side that you don't like to let them clearly know, I don't want you.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Whew, guys, I mean, listen, we could talk all night, but the time has come to an end. And I know the conversation hasn't really reached its full tilt and hilt because we didn't even really go deep into colorism itself. But we touched a lot on Featurism, and I think that was I think that many of us haven't really got to grips with that. So it's good to have that kind of conversation. What I want to say is, first of all, panelists, thank you so much for sharing your experiences, first of all. Thank you so much for being open and honest. Brown Bird, it's good to see your neck still on your head still on your shoulders, because Adjo was really trying to cut your neck there, you know what I'm saying?
Nah, I still staying strong now, I mean.
Still staying strong? Okay.
All
that's
love
what
with
I'm
you.
talking about.
All love too.
Well, I appreciate it, bro. So I want to appreciate everybody on here because you really did give a nuanced conversation. So I think we will have to do another session. I'll probably organize one maybe towards the end of the month, and we'll have a bit more of a conversation as well, because I think it can go a bit even more deeper than we've gone. But I want to say this at the last minute. So I want everyone to give their final statements. So just a final statement, just a conclusion in terms of maybe what you've learned or what you're going to take away from the conversation. Just your final statement. So keep it at 30 seconds. I don't want to have to mute anybody. Kem, since you're on my right hand side first, so Kem, go for it.
So this is my first time ever doing a panel, and I just learned a whole new perspective of how people's minds work, and we have to be empathetic towards each other. Some people are going through traumatic situations, and we have to be understanding of that. So that's my takeaway from this panel. And thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
No, it's a blessing, man. Blessing. Thanks, Kem. T, you're next in line, sis.
Hi. Okay. So I just want to say, love yourself first. If you love yourself, I promise people will follow. That shows from the inside out. That's been my journey. So, and choose people who choose you. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate it, T. Dr. 100, talk to me.
Oh, this has been such a validating experience. I'm so grateful to all of you. It's been an honor to have this interaction with you. My greatest takeaway is that we are growing and we are learning, and we are all trying to ascend to our higher selves. And with that prayer and that desire, we'll get there. We just got to keep going. Thank you.
Appreciate it, Doctor. Optimus Prime, that's my new nickname for you. Sir, talk to us, man.
I'll say thanks for having us. And when I say us, I'm speaking for everybody. Ladies, it was very, very educational. Sit and bask in your intelligence and your beauty. I think every one of you is intelligent, you're beautiful, and don't allow anyone else to lessen that for you. LBB, you do an excellent job, man, of putting out a communications perspective across the spectrum for us all to chew on, man. Keep up what you're doing. I appreciate it.
Appreciate it, Prime, man. Thank you, man. Candice, talk to me, baby.
Thank you again just for having me here, everyone. I just enjoyed hearing everyone's point of view. My comment on all of this, I would say the conversations don't have to stop here. Whether it's at home, online, continue to have these conversations. You don't need to see it on TV or YouTube. Always have these conversations. If you see colorism happen, speak up, say something. It starts with you. So yeah, that's it for me.
I like that. Brown Bird.
Hey.
Gangster.
I'd like to say I appreciate everybody on the panel, appreciate everybody in the chat. I always like having conversations like this. I always like bonding. I enjoyed everybody's perspective, to be real. Taught me a lot of things. That's cool. I took down some notes. I think Adjoa should be a teacher, you know what I'm saying? But I'm gonna say this though. Like I said, I really like the conversations. It was smooth going, and I felt like I can bond with all of y'all. And I expect to come back. So appreciate y'all a lot. You know?
Yeah, Brown Bird. We'll have you back. Don't worry. Janice, Janice, are you from UK?
Yeah, I'm from London.
Because the accent was, I was like, now I see why Americans think that we all talk like the Queen. Because I was hearing, I was like, the accent sound posh. I was like, yeah. I've been hearing Americans all day. That's probably why. Go on.
But yeah, I just wanted to say thank you for creating like a safe space. So we had like a conversation that was like actually helping people, and it wasn't just like a thing where people were arguing. It was just like a good conversation. We were getting deeper and learning more about what the other gender thinks, and just so that we can keep growing and getting better and just learn to deal with our trauma. I'll just say that all of us as Black people, like, we need to come together to dismantle white supremacy, because they're the cause of all this. And sometimes we look like, you know that meme where the Spider-Man, it's just like pointing, like their Spider-Man pointing at each other. That's what we look like sometimes. So we just need to come together to dismantle it, and like we can be in a better place. But yeah, thank you for this opportunity.
No worries, Denise, man. Love, man. Adwa, my best friend.
Could you leave me alone?
Go on, man. Go on.
So the one thing, because I know this best friend thing, you're just trying to trigger me. See, trigger, that's the word of the day. Okay, let me make it quick. Let me make it quick. So I just want to say thank you guys for thank you to the men. Thank you so much for allowing us the space to be able to clear some of these things off and not coming off judgmental or not hitting us hard. And another thing that I want to say is that we also recognize your trauma. Just because we have trauma does not mean it's going to invalidate your trauma. We see that trauma too. Another thing that I want to say, last thing, is that the system of racism, the system of colorism, the structural system itself is so much bigger than us. So we cannot stop these conversations. We have to make sure that our voices are louder so that our impact is real, because we're going against a giant. And if we stop these conversations, then we cannot make meaningful impact, so that our kids can benefit from it. So let's keep having it. And let's have more empathy with these conversations. Thank you, Kojo.
Thank you, Adwa. Oh, guys, you know what? It's been a really good conversation. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was thinking to myself, I hope this doesn't go bad. You know, I was just hoping that it doesn't go into a cat fight and a dog fight. And you guys kept it so respectful, because this conversation, I was privy to a conversation that happened on Clubhouse, and the same topic, and it just went left. And I was like, I hope that doesn't happen. Like, I want people to just have a love and respectful conversation, because I've learned so much, especially from the ladies' point of view. It's always good to kind of get your understanding of where you guys are coming from. So I really appreciate that. The Mandem as well, Brown Bird, Prime came like Optimus. I appreciate that. Brown Bird, hold it down. I appreciate it. I like your accent as well, Brown Bird. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if that's like, I don't know where the accent's from, but it's cool.
New York, man. NYC,
New York.
man.
Oh, okay, cool. I like that, man. I
Word,
respect
son.
it.
You gotta say words, son. Thanks.
I'm a practice mind. Don't worry. I'm gonna bring it
I
next
got you.
time.
I got you. I'll teach you so next time.
Yeah, I appreciate it, Robert. But yeah, audience members, thank you so much for being respectful in the chat. I know my moderators will go in and just blocking people that need to be blocked. Thank you, appreciate that. And we will return. So I'll let you know, guys, again, when we have the next panel for this conversation to continue. In 2 weeks' time on Saturday, we will have the UK version. So we're actually having the UK given their aspect of colorism. So tune into that, see how it is. It may be the same, it may be different. We'll find out. So we'll really appreciate if you guys will join us on that conversation as well. Guys, that is the end. We have reached the end of the thing. Okay. I'm not going to say anything else. If it's for you guys, for me, it's 1:20. For some of you, it's still 6, 7 o'clock in the evening. You know what I'm saying? I'm not going to sleep. Don't worry, guys. I got work to do. But appreciate you guys. Stay locked and stay loaded. We will see you again in 2 weeks' time.